This page is the front cover of Nintendo 64Dream magazine for November 1999, focusing on Nintendo Space World 99. It advertises a large special feature on Space World 99, highlighting an interview with Miyamoto Shigeru and others. The cover showcases Mario, Donkey Kong, and Peach in vehicles, set against a blue and orange background. Featured games listed include Donkey Kong 64, Mother 3, likely meaning Earthbound 64, which was ultimately cancelled but parts became Mother 3 on GBA, Super Mario RPG 2, which became Paper Mario, Kirby 64, The Crystal Shards, Mario Party 2, Perfect Dark, Biohazard 2, Resident Evil 2, Pokemon Gold and Silver, and Zelda Gaiden, likely referring to The Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask. Additionally, the page mentions Mid-Stitch Strategy for Super Robot Battle 64, and Fire Emblem.
Thracia, 776.
A special appendix is also advertised, featuring a Space World 99 giant island letter. This page features the Game Boy Color game called Grand Duel, a hot-blooded adventure dungeon card battle game, subtitled Secret Treasure of the Deep Dungeon. The box art shows a character holding up a card, facing a shadowy, monstrous figure in a dark dungeon setting, with a cute pink creature companion by their side. It highlights it is for the Game Boy Color platform. The next page is an advertisement for the Game Boy and Game Boy Color game, Cardmaster. Rimsa Gaden. This card battle RPG emphasizes strategic gameplay, where players evolve their tactics through card battles. It highlights features such as dueling rivals to become stronger, exploring dungeons to collect cards, and boasting a massive collection of approximately 8,000 different cards to discover. The game is scheduled for release on November 26, 1999, and priced at 4,500 yen excluding tax. It was developed and published by Bottom Up. This page is an advertisement for the Game Boy Color game Bokuju Monogatari GB2, known internationally as Harvest Moon GB2. It highlights that the game is a big hit and currently on sale. The advertisement promotes original merchandise as a gift for purchasers, including a calendar, a mug, and other items featuring characters from the game. The text encourages players who enjoy simulation games to try it out. The screenshots showcase in-game scenes, emphasizing the expansive world and gameplay. This page is the contents page for the magazine, outlining the articles included in this issue. The special feature is about Space World Total War Special Feature. The new software preview section highlights several upcoming or recently released games, including Zelda Gaiden. The Legend of Zelda Gaiden, likely referring to a side story or spin-off, possibly Ocarina of Time related. Donkey Kong 64, Mother 3, Pig King's Final Stage, Super Mario RPG 2, likely Super Mario RPG sequel, but perhaps referring to Paper Mario as a different title. Perfect Dark, Jet Force Gemini, Bass Fishing No. 1 Definitive Edition, Kirby of the Stars 64, Kirby 64, The Crystal Shards, Sim City 64, Giant Dodon 1, Pokemon Gold and Silver. The strategy information section includes articles on
Ogre Battle 64, Person of Lordly Caliber, Super Robot Wars 64, Fire Emblem. Thracia 776. The serialization/planning section lists various regular features and articles, including columns, reader sections, and development diaries related to game creation and industry news. It also lists things like a new software release calendar, Dream Rankings, and 64 software catalog, along with reader-submitted content and presents. This page is a release calendar for N64 games in October. It highlights the Space World event, where many people experienced upcoming software. The calendar is split into N64 and 64DD titles. Games highlighted as coming soon include Winback 64, Hana Tengoku Angel's Promise, Beast Wars Transmetal 64, Pro Mahjong Kiwami Hyo, and V-Rally Edition 99. The monthly calendar section lists release dates for various titles including Super Robot Taisen Link Battler on Game Boy, Picross NP Volume 4 on Super Famicom, Beast Wars Metal 64 on N64,
Pro Mahjong Kiwami Hyo, and Gourmet Action Bistro Recipe on Game Boy.
V-Rally Edition 99 on N64 and Game Boy. Wizardry Empire and V-Rally on Game Boy. Yoriku 2 Murderous Navigation on N64. Yoriku GB Quicksaw Adventure on Game Boy. Super Robot Tyson 64 on N64. Weetrix GB, Garakuo Tango, and Hamster Club on Game Boy. It also mentions the release of the December issue of 64Dream magazine in December.
This page is a ranking of N64 games, split into two sections. The first ranking is titled Doki Doki Dream Ranking Top 20, which lists the top 20 most anticipated upcoming N64 games as voted for by readers. Number 1 is Zelda Gaiden, tentative title, which refers to The Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask, followed by Mother 3, which was cancelled on N64. And in third place is Kirby 64, The Crystal Shards. Other games in this anticipated ranking include Super Mario RPG 2, which likely refers to Paper Mario, Fire Emblem 64, Donkey Kong 64, Super Robot Wars 64, Biohazard 2, Resident Evil 2, Winback, Perfect Dark, Star Wars, Rogue Squadron, Kyojin no Doshin, Bomberman 64 2, F-Zero X Expansion Kit, SimCity 64, Bakuretsu Muteki Bangayo, Panel de Pon 64, Mario Artist, Paint Studio, Virtual Pro Wrestling 2 and Mario Artist, Polygon Studio. The second ranking is titled Kore ga Yureteru, N64 Soft Top 10, which lists the top 10 best-selling N64 games. Number 1 is Mario Golf 64, followed by Mario Kart 64, Super Smash Bros., Pokemon Stadium 2, Star Wars, Rogue Squadron, Ogre Battle 64, Person of Lordly Caliber, Star Wars Episode 1, Racer, GQ Powerful Pro Yaku 6, J-League GQ Winning 11-2, and Mario Party. The page highlights the popularity of The Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask as the most anticipated upcoming game, and Mario Golf 64 as the best-selling current game. This page presents survey results from readers regarding desired features and anticipated games for Nintendo platforms. A Game Boy survey reveals game data distribution as the top requested communication feature, followed by internet browsing and communication battles. A pie chart indicates strong interest in service content for communication usage. Another survey focuses on next-generation consoles, with 64DD leading in interest. A pie chart shows purchase intentions centered on content of service for the 64DD. Additionally, there's a ranking of the top 30 games requested as posters, including titles like Ogre Battle 64, Super Smash Bros., and Pokemon Gold and Silver. Finally, a top 20 list of most exciting N64 4-player battle games is highlighted, featuring games like Mario Kart 64, Mario Party, and GoldenEye 007. This page is a special feature highlighting Nintendo Space World 99, an event held from August 27th to 29th at Makuhari Messe. The event was a huge success, attracting 170,000 visitors over 3 days. The page encourages those who attended, those who couldn't make it, even parents who were busy at the event, to relive the excitement of Space World through this special feature. Featured prominently is artwork from The Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask, depicting Link riding Epona, Skull Kid with Majora's Mask, and the ominous moon, all set against a backdrop of Clocktown, Paris. There's also a photograph from the actual event, showcasing the large crowds playing N64 games under banners for Nintendo Space World 99 and Nintendo 64. Around the text and event image, there are circular icons representing various N64 games and characters, including glimpses of Banjo-Kazooie, Donkey Kong 64, Star Fox 64, Kirby 64, The Crystal Shards, Conker's Bad Fur Day, Diddy Kong Racing, Yoshi's Story, Super Mario 64, Pilot Wings 64, Pokemon Stadium, Mario Kart 64, and F-Zero X. This page is all about the anticipated The Legend of Zelda Gaiden, provisional title, which we now know as The Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask. It's being showcased at Space World 99 and is clearly positioned as a direct follow-up to Ocarina of Time, launching just 10 months later. The article highlights the new gameplay focus on masks, allowing Link to transform into Goron, Zora, and Deku forms, promising a fresh and surprising system. They mention that while the setting of Hyrule feels familiar, it's also a new and intriguing space to explore. Development is currently at 50%, with a planned release in March 2000, and it is classified as a 3D action RPG. The screenshots show Link in various forms and game environments, emphasizing this new transformation mechanic. It's exciting to see how they're building upon the Ocarina of Time foundation. This page is a Space World 99 Speed Tour report, focusing on 3 minigames. It highlights Goron Race, described as a race with many Gorons, where you wear a Goron mask for high-speed dashes and navigate through obstacles like spiky balls while racing. The Zora's Maki Picking is about helping a Zora brother collect Maki from underwater while avoiding obstacles, described as having a refreshing watery feeling reminiscent of F-Zerox in terms of speed. Finally, Epona Track Race features a horse race against Ingo, who now appears as 2 characters, mentioning that they are still rude. The text notes that despite riding a child Epona, you are racing against adult horses, which causes speed reduction due to the horse's fatigue. The page suggests that the Lon Lon Ranch Trio is present at the show version, creating a slightly strange world outside of Hyrule. The popular courses were Goron Race and VS Boss. The page mentions opening demos featuring Skull Kid on Epona in a deep, confusing forest, suggesting a Zelda connection, and indicates that the screenshots are from Ocarina of Time and the course titles are show versions. This page previews gameplay sections from The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time, highlighting varied challenges and mechanics. Forest Dungeon features puzzles, enemies like Octoroks, and Deku Nuts for defense and traversal using launch flowers. Epona Bowman details an archery minigame at Lon Lon Ranch, involving riding Epona to shoot Pose. White Silver Dungeon showcases the Goron mask and its rolling attack against White Wolfos, with a risk of falling into pits. Nutty Shooter Infiltration describes using Zora and Deku Nut masks to navigate a guarded area, including flower-powered flight and avoiding detection. Screenshots illustrate these gameplay scenarios. The page emphasizes the importance of courage, items, and environmental solutions within dungeons, while also noting that some screenshots may differ from the final game, and briefly touches on a Deku Nut-related feature. This page previews The Legend of Zelda: Majora's Mask. It details the battle floors where you encounter enemies like Stall Children, noting the large number of them as possible due to the memory expansion pack. The VS Boss section discusses a large soldier-type boss, mentioning it is powerful and takes significant damage. The Curious Link Items section highlights items available in the demo, including the Fairy Slingshot, which can be used by both adult and child Link, and Magic Beans. It mentions the Megaton Hammer will be shown on page 11. The Story section sets the scene, describing Link encountering Skull Kid in the woods after returning peace to Hyrule, and the moon falling towards the world. The Ocarina screen section shows various icons, which are assumed to be for equipment and item selection, questioning if this is a screen for changing clothes and boots, and noting 4 of the icons are masks. It also mentions that in this demo version, gold Skulltulas are preset, unlike in the final game. Previous series enemies like Iron Knuckle, Igor, and Wizrobe are also confirmed to appear in this game. The next page is all about masks in The Legend of Zelda: Majora's Mask. It highlights that using masks will change the sound of the ocarina to different instruments, with Goron becoming a taiko drum, Deku Nuts a trumpet, Zora a guitar, and the standard sound is a flute. The page shows the item selection screen, which includes items like the Fairy Ocarina, Fairy Bow, Fire Arrows, Ice Arrows, Deku Nuts, Hookshot, Boomerang, and the Mask of Truth. It is mentioned that the last 3 slots are question marks in this demo version. There are descriptions for 3 masks: the Goron mask, which allows high-speed dashing and powerful Megaton Hammer-like punches; the Deku mask, enabling bubble attacks, gliding with flowers and walking on shallow water; and the Zora mask for fast dolphin-like swimming and a fin attack. Interestingly, dogs are scared by both the Goron and Deku masks. A new Adult Link mask icon has been spotted, hinting that players might be able to transform into Adult Link, although this wasn't shown in the demo. The article mentions that the mask selection screen will have 24 masks in total, with 6 confirmed in the show demo. The page ends by posing questions about the characters that will appear in the game, such as sages, unique NPCs, Ganondorf, Princess Zelda, and the Great Fairies. This page is a preview for the upcoming Nintendo 64 game, Donkey Kong 64. The game is advertised with the slogans Kong Power and Donkey Land, and is currently 80% complete in development. It is scheduled for release in Japan in December 1999, published by Nintendo and developed by Rare. This action game is for 1 player and will require the N64 Memory Expansion Pack to play, and will be sold bundled with the pack for 7,800 yen. The game is also compatible with the Rumble Pack and backup cartridge.
The page includes screenshots showcasing gameplay.
This page is all about Donkey Kong 64 and the Donkey Kong Country TV anime series. It announces the game's catchy opening theme and introduces the gameplay style. The text mentions the opening is a rap scene and highlights the 3D graphics of the game, emphasizing how different it is from previous Donkey Kong titles, but still reassuring fans that it maintains the Donkey Kong feel. It also announces that the Donkey Kong Country TV anime will start broadcasting on October 1st. This anime is described as full CG 3D animation, and the storyline revolves around the Crystal Coconut and the Kremling crew. The broadcast time for the anime is every Friday from 6:30 p.m. to 7 p.m. on the TV Tokyo Network and other national networks. The page encourages people to watch the anime, even those unfamiliar with Donkey Kong, and assures fans of the games will enjoy it too. The page features screenshots from the game and images of various Donkey Kong characters from both the game and the TV series. This page showcases Donkey Kong 64, highlighting the 5 playable Kong characters who are ready to battle the Kremling army. It mentions that while the detailed story is still unknown, the basic world setting is in line with the Super Famicom's Super Donkey Kong series. The page introduces each of the 5 Kongs. Donkey, described as the leader, big, fast, and strong, who uses coconut guns and a powered-up hand-strap technique. Tiny is a charming girl Kong, light and agile, able to use her pigtails like a helicopter to move in the air and utilize bird feather items. Lanky is described as a strange-faced Kong with long arms, skilled in tricks, using his reach to attack and inflate his body to float. Diddy is a familiar face with jetpacks, flying in the sky and wielding peanut pistols. Lastly, Chunky is presented as the powerhouse, incredibly strong, able to lift and smash rocks, though his actions are slower. The page emphasizes utilizing each character's unique traits to progress through the game. The next page focuses on Donkey Kong 64, showcasing the exciting minigames and boss battles. It mentions that there are many enjoyable stages in Donkey Kong 64, including slide-like levels and minecart sections. The epic boss battles are likened to those in Zelda: Ocarina of Time. Screenshots show a variety of minigames such as kart races, underwater stages, and minecart challenges. The article also praises the 3D graphics and the distinctive Donkey Kong-style humor, noting that a playable version with 10 types of minigames was featured at Space World. This page previews Mother 3, subtitled Pig King's Final Stage, showcased at Space World 99. It introduces the game as a highly anticipated RPG, finally unveiling itself. The article highlights the game's setting in Tatsumari Village, focusing on Flint as the main protagonist, who is part of a family. Screenshots depict scenes of villagers gathered, gameplay with Flint controlling characters, and battle sequences involving turn-based commands and timing-based hits synchronized with the music. The game information sidebar details the title as Mother 3 Pig King's Final Stage, developer as Nintendo, release date planned for May 2000, price at 6,800 yen, genre as RPG, player count as 1, and development status at 50%. This page is a preview for the N64 game Mother 3, Pig King of the Skies. Shigesato Itoi introduces the game as an exciting adventure. The story is about a family of 4 and their dog living in a peaceful village where something strange happens, leading them into a mysterious forest filled with unsettling sounds. The game is praised for exceeding expectations with its incredible music, which is highlighted as a must-listen. Screenshots show various scenes, emphasizing the game's diverse music and dialogue reminiscent of the Mother series, along with exciting event sequences. A play review from Space World 99 reports a positive experience, especially praising the music for perfectly matching the game's scenes, enjoyable battles, smooth character movement, and captivating event scenes. The reviewer concludes by expressing excitement for the game and being deeply moved by its music. This page is focused on Paper Mario, which was known as Super Mario RPG 2, provisional title, at the time of this magazine. It highlights the game's upcoming release and unique visual style. The article mentions that at Space World 99, attendees were able to experience the game's island area, showcasing battle scenes and various playable fields. The graphics are described as having a flat, manga-like style, which might seem unexpected at first, but feels good as you get used to it, with the first impression being reminiscent of Super Famicom's Yoshi's Island. Screenshots show gameplay featuring Mario battling a Goomba-like enemy, exploring Yoshi's village, and interacting with Koopa Troopas in Koopa Village. The text boxes describe Mario using a hammer in battle and arriving in Koopa Village, wondering what kind of adventure awaits. It notes that the game's fields, while appearing 2Ds, have a 3D-like depth, and that you can talk to nearby Koopa Troopas. The game information box lists the title as Super Mario RPG 2 Provisional. The publisher as Nintendo, a planned release date of January 2000, a price of 6,800 yen, the genre as RPG, and support for one player, Rumble Pack, and backup cartridge. The development status is at 50%. This page is focused on a new RPG that blends 2D and 3D elements, emphasizing its action-oriented gameplay. The preview highlights the game's battle scenes, which are described as cinematic. It mentions that players can customize Mario with weapons to create their own Strong Mario. The game features familiar characters like Peach and Bowser. The text discusses the appealing visuals and user-friendly gameplay, suitable for both children and adults. It emphasizes the game's presentation and abundant cutscenes, capturing the essence of merriness. The game is described as having a kind and gentle feel, and is recommended as a title that both kids and adults can enjoy, especially highlighting its release being just around the corner. The screenshots show gameplay scenes, including battles and interactions with Peach in Peach's castle. This page is all about Perfect Dark. It's highlighted as a super anticipated shooting game built on the GoldenEye 007 system. It's for one player but also features intense four-player battles. The story is set in 2023 Chicago, where Special Agent Joanna Dark investigates Datadyne. What starts as a simple rescue mission quickly turns into a global conspiracy. The article mentions the game boasts impressive graphics and a sophisticated system, more refined than GoldenEye. Screenshots show in-game scenes with enemies, diverse locations, and weapon use. It points out enemies will be smarter and use tactics. There will be many items and weapons, including grenade launchers and thermal goggles. A key feature mentioned for multiplayer is the ability to use the Game Boy camera to capture player faces and use them as characters in the game, adding a personal touch to the four-player battles. The development is at 70% and aiming for a February 2000 release. The initial impressions are very positive, praising the graphics, story, and overall gameplay feel, suggesting it's a must-watch title. There's a screenshot of an early mission briefing in English text. This page is about Jet Force Gemini for the Nintendo 64, a shooting game where you control main characters who belong to Jet Force Gemini to defeat evil insect robot soldiers who are invading planets. It's described as a fast-paced and exhilarating action shooting game. The page highlights the game's adventure and puzzle elements, noting it's fundamentally a 3D shooting game where you progress through 3D spaces, eliminating enemies. It also mentions puzzle elements, where you need to trigger switches or defeat a certain number of enemies to proceed, and solve puzzles to open doors. The review section, Space World Play Review, gives impressions, stating the graphics are realistic, with beautiful light effects and reflections, and the backgrounds are detailed. It mentions the enemy robots are cute, but the game is challenging, requiring careful aim. It notes the game features co-op play with up to 4 players and multiplayer battles. Characters are described as cute, but the overall impression is that the game is quite hard. The next page is focused on the N64 game, Itoi Shigesato's Bass Fishing No. 1 Definitive Edition, known internationally as Bass Masters Classic. This is highlighted as the definitive bass fishing game for the N64, promising a realistic and immersive experience that captures the essence of fishing. It is mentioned as a sequel to the Super Famicom game of the same name, building upon its success. The page details the realism achieved through the N64 hardware, particularly praising the graphics and the depiction of water flow and movement. It also emphasizes the relaxing nature of fishing, even during times when no fish are caught, and the feeling of being in nature. Screenshots showcase the gameplay, including the tackle box with various lures and equipment. The article mentions the enjoyment of discovering fishing spots and the inclusion of illustrations by Hikone no Norio, contributing to the game's peaceful atmosphere. The game utilizes a dedicated controller, which was shown at Space World 99. The game's development is at 50%, and it is scheduled for release in April 2000 at a price of 6,800 yen. The game is categorized as SPT Sports genre, supporting one player, vibration pack, and backup cartridge. The next page is dedicated to Kirby 64. The Crystal Shards for the Nintendo 64, showcased at Space World 99. This action game aims to capture the true essence of Kirby, delivering a gentle and enjoyable experience now in full 3D. The screenshots demonstrate the colorful and three-dimensional stages, promising an evolution of classic Kirby gameplay. Scheduled for release around March 2000, it will support the Rumble Pack feature. Feedback from someone who played it at Space World 99 suggests it was a worthwhile and fun experience, even after waiting in a queue to play. This page is all about upcoming Nintendo 64 titles, showcasing 2 exciting games. First up is Mario Party 2, billed as a power-up sequel to the popular board game. It's touted as having even more minigames, and is designed for heated 4-player battles. Screenshots show off some minigame action, and the game info box indicates a planned December 1999 release and is currently 70% complete. Next we see Excitebike 64, the legendary Excitebike series making its way to the N64. This one looks to be a full-fledged motorcycle racing game in 3Ds, retaining the edit mode that fans loved from the original Famicom title. Screenshots showcase motocross racing and the course editing interface. The game info box mentions a planned February 2000 release and a development status of 50%. Both games look to be great additions to the N64 lineup. The next page is showcasing a game called Slid Racer. This racing game lets you control radio-controlled cars using the N64 3D stick. It's described as having realistic physics despite the small size of the cars, giving you the feeling of operating a real radio-controlled vehicle. You can choose from various car types like off-road and racing cars. Up to 4 players can compete against each other. The page highlights features like car selection, where you can pick your machine, track editing to create your own courses, and multiplayer battles. Screenshots show the gameplay, car selection interface, a track editor, and race results screens. It mentions obstacles appearing on the course and the excitement of the race start. The game was slated for release in October 1999 at a price of 5,800 yen. It supports up to 4 players and vibration packs and backup cartridges. This page is a preview of Biohazard 2, also known as Resident Evil 2 internationally, for the N64. It highlights that while new information on Biohazard 3 is expected for the PS1, development for the N64 version of Biohazard 2 is at 80% and progressing smoothly. The preview compares the N64 version to the PlayStation version in several key areas. In terms of compression, the N64 version is more compressed but still maintains good image quality. Regarding movies, the cutscenes are present and nearly complete on the N64. For controls, the N64 version allows for 3D stick control in addition to the D-pad, which is considered a positive improvement. Loading times are faster on the N64 due to the cartridge format, eliminating CD-ROM loading. Graphics are noted to be cleaner and higher resolution on the N64, with the added feature of selectable blood color. The Space World Play preview section states the port is almost complete and expresses anticipation for further improvements, praising the graphics as beautiful. It mentions the memory expansion pack is supported, and overall, the port is considered nearly perfect with satisfying gameplay. This page is all about the upcoming N64 game Custom Robo. It's described as a robot action RPG where players can customize their robots and battle with friends. The page highlights the exciting action gameplay showcased at Space World 99, where even kids were amazed by the robot battles and techniques. The page emphasizes customization being a key element, letting players customize their robots' weapons and think strategically about different battle styles. Screenshots depict arena battles, referred to as Holosseum, where players control their robots to fight it out. The game is listed as a robot action RPG genre, supporting 1 to 2 players, and requires 128 MB of memory. It's scheduled for release in November, developed by Nintendo and Noise, and at the time of this page, development was 90% complete. The page indicates that RPG elements beyond just battling will be featured in the game, and more details will be revealed in future issues. This page is a preview for the Nintendo 64 game Robot Pankatsu 64-7C's Caramel, which is based on the Game Boy versions of Robot Pankatsu. The game is an RPG and supports 1 to 2 players, requiring a 64 GB pack for saving. The game is set to be released in December 1999 in Japan, and is currently 70% complete in development. The preview highlights that the game features 3D polygon battles and allows players to transfer characters from the Game Boy versions using the 64GB pack. The story follows the protagonist on a journey across 7 seas, battling Robopon robots and aiming to collect the legendary Caramel. The page introduces 2 main characters, Palm, who likes tinkering with machines, and Galuria, a handsome and popular character, both selectable as protagonists. It also mentions new Robopon robots appearing in the N64 version, different from those in the Game Boy versions. Screenshots show in-game battles with UI elements, character interactions, and map exploration. One section points out that the game utilizes an IR system, possibly hinting at connectivity features or controller interaction. 2 upcoming N64 games are showcased. Bomberman 2, 80% complete, features Bomberman's capture by the BHB gang upon returning from space with a mysterious egg. It includes a Pommy evolution system, where feeding Pommy different foods strengthens it. It's a 1-to-4 player action game, compatible with Controller Pack and Rumble Pack, planned for a December 3rd release. 64 Wars, a completed war simulation, is set for a late November 1999 release in Japan. It aims for accessibility, while providing a deep war simulation, introducing a 3-nation war for increased strategic depth. It offers connectivity with the Game Boy version of GB Wars 2. The game features 3D unit graphics and detailed unit stats are shown. It appears to be related to the Battle Commander Battlefield General series, potentially a Japan-exclusive title. This page is all about the N64 game Bangai-O. It's a shooting game from ESP, released on September 3rd, priced at 5,800 yen, and supports 1 player with vibration functionality. The game was 100% complete at the time of this page. The page highlights gameplay tips for Bangai-O, emphasizing the importance of understanding object interactions within the game. It points out that different colored blocks react differently to player shots and enemy fire. Blue blocks are destroyed by player shots, red blocks by enemy shots, and green blocks are indestructible. The player's laser is described as a fixed laser that cuts through the Bangai-O's body. The page advises players to master these object interactions to achieve victory. One section titled, "Plus 200 shots is not a dream," discusses a powerful attack. It mentions that the game's ultimate technique is an all-directional attack, firing up to 100 shots at once, plus an additional 20 shots when near an enemy. This can reach up to 200 shots in total. The guide advises using homing missiles effectively, suggesting that while straight shots are useful, homing missiles are key to clearing the game. It encourages players to aim for a full clear by mastering this technique. The final section mentions that Bangai-O was exhibited at Space World and was popular with players. It notes that many people played the demo and enjoyed the game, with some becoming repeat players, indicating the game's addictiveness and engaging gameplay, especially for those who enjoy challenging, skill-based games. This page is a preview of the Japanese-exclusive N64 text-adventure game, Yakuchu 2, Murder Cruise. The game is set on the luxury passenger ship Pandora, where a series of murders take place. Players must investigate the mystery and solve the crime. The preview highlights that there are over 30 different endings to discover, influenced by player choices during the game. It showcases several screenshots depicting different scenes within the game, including dialogue and investigation sequences. Featured are character introductions for the main individuals involved in the story, detailing their names, genders, and brief background information relevant to the narrative, including characters like Fuhata Takashi, Hayami Arisa, Hayami Kenji, Hayami Kunihiko, Soezima Taizu, Misaki Yuhei, Kusakabe Takuya, and others, each with a small profile. The article mentions that the game was showcased at Space World 99 and was 100% complete at the time of this magazine publication. This page introduces the game Winback. It's a 3D gun action title for the N64, published by Koei, set to release on September 23rd. The game puts you in the shoes of a special operative, tasked with retaking a military satellite control center seized by terrorists. The page details basic controls, highlighting attack using the R trigger and A button, reload, C4 bomb deployment using the down C button, and movement with the 3D stick. The game is designed for 1 to 4 players and supports the controller pack and vibration pack. Development was at 100% at the time of this preview, indicating it was ready for release. The core gameplay focuses on strategic combat and completing missions within a time limit, which affects the story's progression. The next page is a special feature from Spaceworld 99 Part 1 software, focusing on gameplay basics, weapons, and items within what appears to be a guide for the game Perfect Dark. The page is divided into sections covering basics of battle, which instructs players to utilize cover, identify enemy positions, and prioritize targets. It also details laser traps, surveillance devices, and invisible enemies, advising players to destroy traps and be cautious of hidden foes, using explosive containers to damage multiple enemies, and the danger of being caught in the blast radius is also highlighted. Finally, strategic combat using capture and hit-and-run tactics are recommended. The page showcases various weapons and items. The Colt MKIV handgun with unlimited ammo, the H&K MP5A5 submachine gun, which is more powerful than the handgun with a high rate of fire, and the Franchi ISPAS-12 shotgun, powerful at close range but with slow reload times. Items include a silencer to reduce gun noise for stealth attacks, a FRACH light flashlight to attach to guns for dark areas, medical kit for health recovery, magazine pouch to increase ammo capacity, C4 bombs for destruction or attacks, C4 detector for finding bombs, magazine for MP5 with 30 rounds, and shell case for shotgun ammo. This page showcases the Nintendo 64 game Transformers Beast Wars Medals 64. It reveals Megatron X as the strongest final boss, emphasizing his power and goal to eliminate all life. The page features images of Megatron X in both his robot and beast modes, along with screenshots of the game in action. It details how using the N64 expansion pack enhances the game by improving character stats and energy recovery. Notably, inserting the Japanese game Dual Beast Wars unlocks Megatron X as a playable character. The page also mentions a special giveaway of Metal Convoy vs Metal Megatron toys. This page is focused on Choro Q64-2 Hachimecha Grand Prix Race, a battle-action racing game for the N64 by Takara, set to release in November. It highlights the deep customization with over 30 body types, and the enhanced parts system compared to the previous game. A key feature is the course editor, allowing players to create their own tracks. The page also briefly mentions a selection of other N64 titles showcased at Spaceworld 99, categorizing them into This Software and Reference Exhibited Goods, overseas titles. This Software includes Extreme G2, Hanabi Hana Angel's Promise, Robot Pankatsu 64, Dai 2, Virtual Pro Wrestling 2, and Top Gear Hyperbike. Reference Exhibited Goods. Overseas titles lists a number of games available internationally such as WWF Attitude, Destruction Derby 64, NFL Blitz 2000, Shadowman, Michael Owen's World League Soccer 2000, Rayman 2, The Great Escape, Army Men Sarge's Heroes, Road Rash 64, Gauntlet Legends, RAT Attack, Tonic Trouble, Viewpoint 2064, and VRALLY Edition 99. This page announces the latest information on 64DD LANnet, emphasizing its potential to expand gameplay possibilities on the Nintendo 64. It details what LANnet is, a network service for the 64DD, allowing for new online experiences. To use LANnet, you need to purchase a starter kit, which includes the 64DD unit, a modem cartridge, a memory expansion pack, connection cables, and a LANnet disk. Setting up involves attaching the 64DD to the N64, inserting the modem cartridge, and connecting to a phone line. The page highlights 4 key aspects of LANnet: purchasing the starter kit, setting up additional hardware like the memory expansion pack and member disk, connecting via telephone lines, and finally, starting to use the service. It lists several planned software titles for 64DD LANnet, although these are provisional titles at this stage, including Digital Gallop Newspaper, likely a horse racing information service, F-Zero-DD Expansion Kit, which became known internationally as F-Zero-X Expansion Kit, Wall Street, Shogi, Japanese chess, Soundmaker, Game Maker, Video Jockey Maker, Graphical Message Maker, and DTDD version, which might be a development tool or demo. The service aims to offer new forms of entertainment beyond just games, like accessing information and communication, suggesting a broader online experience. The article mentions that at Space World 99, many people were captivated by the showcased network features and the possibilities it presented, indicating excitement for the future of online gaming on the N64 using 64DD LANnet. This page is all about SimCity 64, a game fully utilizing the 64DD's capabilities. It's described as a city-building simulation, where you become the mayor and nurture your city. The game leverages the 64DD's large capacity to create massive cities that are fun to build and manage. It highlights new features beyond just city building, offering a Space World 99 experience. A key feature showcased is the ability to explore your created city in 3Ds, walking through it as if you were there. You can even encounter and talk to residents. You can also register your own custom character made in Paint Studio and have them live in the city you've built, which is described as a really cool and fun idea. The page emphasizes that this SimCity is even more interesting than previous entries. It mentions the beautiful graphics and the freedom to walk around the city, giving a sense of being there. It sounds like a really immersive simulation experience, especially with the ability to see and explore the city you've designed. It seems like a title that's worth keeping an eye on, particularly for those who are considering purchasing the 64DD. This page is all about the upcoming Mario Artist Talent Studio for the 64DD. It's showcasing the game's features, focusing on how players can create their own characters and movies. The Create Talent section explains that you can make unique characters with customizable hairstyles, clothes, and actions, and even use photos to create characters. The Create Work section mentions saving your creations, both characters and movies, onto the 64DD. The Create Movie section goes into detail about making movies, using characters and backgrounds, adding sound effects, and even incorporating video. There are some example movies shown like Meeting with the Teacher and Kung Fu Master. Finally, there's a section about Han Pozan from Nintendo, who was featured as a model for Talent Studio at Space World. It mentions that some previously unreleased images of Han Pozan are included here, and notes his impressive talent. It seems like Mario Artist Talent Studio gives you a lot of creative freedom to make your own characters and movies on the 64DD. This page highlights the Mario Artist series for the 64DD, focusing on two key titles: Mario Artist Paint Studio and Mario Artist Polygon Studio. Paint Studio is all about easy and enjoyable drawing, boasting a wealth of materials and effects. It's designed for anyone to create art and even animations, letting you feel like a real animator. It supports up to 4 players simultaneously for collaborative artwork. Polygon Studio dives into the world of 3D polygon modeling. It breaks down modeling into different stages: Block Modeler for beginners using pre-made parts, 3D Modeler for more detailed sculpting, and Paint Modeler to color your creations. The page shows screenshots of building polygon models step by step, from basic shapes to colored finished pieces. There's also a gallery feature to view your artwork and animations, and even share them with friends. Beyond creation, you can enjoy viewing and minigames with your models, including racing minigames and different viewing modes, to appreciate your creations from various angles and with visual effects. The page emphasizes the interconnected nature of the Mario Artist world, suggesting you can use models and artwork created in one studio in other Mario Artist programs, hinting at a larger creative suite experience. It shows examples like printing artwork created in Paint Studio onto characters in Talent Studio, showcasing the creative possibilities within the series. This page is about the upcoming 64DD game, Kyojin no Doshin 1. The game lets you control a giant on a southern island and interact with the islanders. It's described as a new type of game where you can grow the island and build relationships with the residents. Apparently, it was a big hit at Space World 99. The page highlights Scarlet Kyojin, who is called the Hate Giant, described as destructive. However, there's also mention of a Yellow Love Giant, and you can change into different giant types. Screenshots show the red giant causing destruction and the yellow giant interacting peacefully with villagers. The game seems to be about the unique experience of being a giant, and the scale of things from that perspective. A Space World Play Preview section mentions the game feeling like SimCity in a way, where you help the villagers. The editor's comment expresses excitement about the game and how it leaves a lasting impression. The game's development is at 99%, and it's scheduled for release on December 1st as a 64DD exclusive title for one player. It's mentioned that there are 16 types of monuments you can build with the giant's help. This page is about the F-Zero X expansion kit for the Nintendo 64. It highlights the features of the expansion, emphasizing the ability to customize the game extensively. The page details the new course edit mode, allowing players to design their own tracks by adjusting layouts, backgrounds, banking, pit areas, and dashboards. There's also a create machine mode, where players can assemble and customize their own machines using various parts and color options, affecting performance attributes. The expansion introduces the DD1 Cup, a new Grand Prix mode where players can race on custom-made courses with up to 30 machines. The game information box specifies that the title is F-Zero-X Expansion Kit, tentative. The developer is Nintendo. The release date is planned for December 1999. The genre is RAC, Racing. Supports 14 players and is specifically for the 64DD. The development status is listed as 100% complete. The screenshots show in-game course editing interfaces, machine customization screens, and racing gameplay on custom tracks. The page mentions that the expansion adds new courses and content to the original F-Zero-X game. This page features a preview of the game Gendai Daisenryaku Ultimate War, which translates to Modern Great Strategy Ultimate War for the 64DD. It's described as a wargame simulation where players can enjoy strategic battles, and this installment in the Daisenryaku series brings it to the 64DD with enhanced realism through a new system. The game's information box reveals it's a simulation genre, supporting 1 to 4 players, specifically designed for the 64DD, and supports the vibration pack. It was under development by SETA, with a planned release in December 1999, but the price was yet to be determined. Development was reportedly 90% complete. The page highlights new gameplay systems, mentioning the removal of hex grids, a staple in traditional wargames, for a more dynamic movement system. It also emphasizes live feeling battle scenes, showing realistic combat sequences with submarines and tanks, comparing the experience to watching live TV broadcasts of battles. The game separates ground and air battles, where players primarily control air units, issuing broad commands while the CPU manages ground combat. The scenario is set in 199X, with tensions rising in the Korean peninsula, and players take on the role of a U.S. military commander, intervening in a civil war. The game includes factions like the U.S. military, Soviet forces, and NATO, with potential for online battles. This page highlights 2 upcoming 64DD games from SETA, both slated for release in December 1999 and requiring the memory expansion pack. The first game previewed is Japan Pro Golf Tour 64, a realistic golf simulation. Developed by SETA, who previously worked on Glory of St. Andrews on N64, this game aims to be the definitive golf experience on the 64DD. It boasts courses used in the 99 Pro Golf tournaments, allowing players to tee off on famous greens. You can create your own golfer or play as established pros, all rendered with impressive 3D graphics. The focus is on authentic gameplay and a high degree of freedom in shot selection, aiming for a realistic and engaging golf experience. The second game is Yosuke Ide's Mahjong School, a mahjong title designed to be approachable for everyone, from beginners to seasoned players. Featuring the famous mahjong player Yosuke Ide, this game offers a reassuring and orthodox mahjong experience. It includes a tutorial mode where Ide himself teaches the basics, making it easy for newcomers to learn. The game also features 3D characters and promises a stress-free and enjoyable mahjong experience, even offering adjustable computer AI strength to cater to different skill levels. This page is an advertisement for the N64 game Kyojin no Doshin 1, also known as Doshin the Giant in English. It is described as an age-the-game tropical island style and is for the 64DD system, scheduled for release in Japan in December 1999. The page features a design using abstract shapes with the game title, Doshin, visually integrated into the image. This page is an advertisement for the Nintendo 64DD and the RANNet service. It highlights how the 64DD and RANNet will change gaming, presenting it as a new service that allows for network play. It mentions that with RANNet you can download new data to expand games, enjoy network-based information, upload and download freely, and participate in online game tournaments. It also states that internet and email are supported. The advert mentions that RANNet service began in December 1999 and directs readers to the website http://www.rannetdd.co.jp/ for more details about RANNet and encourages them to check game magazines for further information. The text at the top indicates that the 64DD era begins with the game Giant Danban 1. This page is showcasing special stickers, Volume 38, from 64Dream magazine to celebrate the 3rd anniversary of the magazine and Space World. The stickers feature characters from Mario Kart 64 riding in controller-shaped vehicles, alongside Mother 3 artwork and characters, Majora's Mask masks, and images of Koopa Troopa and Cheep Cheep. Below the stickers are listed the titles of the games Beast Wars Transmetal 64, V-Rally Edition 99, and several Japan-only releases including 64 Hanafuda Angel's Promise, Pro Shinan Mahjong Hei, and Densha de Go 64. The text describes these as Purikura-style mini-stickers to decorate your N64 game cartridges. This page is a blank yellow page. This page is an advertisement for the Nintendo 64 game Transformers Beast Wars Transmetals. It highlights that there are 60 Metal Warrior characters in the game and features quotes from Rat Trap, Optimus Primal, Convoy, Megatron, and Cheater, emphasizing the game's noisy and exciting nature, just like the anime. The ad mentions 3 mode changes, 12-player mode, vibration pack support, and save functionality. It showcases screenshots of the game's action and notes the release date as October 1, 1999, priced at 7,800 yen. This page covers Rokudori Entertainment Club topics and focuses on the success of Space World. The page mentions an anecdote about voice actor Ms. Inuyama Inuko, who voiced Nyarth, Meowth, in Pocket Monsters. There is a discussion about game events in Tokyo, including one at Tokyo Dome and Nintendo Space World. The article touches upon whether such events could be held outside of Tokyo for fans in other regions. It also mentions the 64DD and asks if it's worth purchasing. Games like Kyojin no Doshin 1 are mentioned as having unique gameplay. Regarding upcoming RPGs, Dragon Quest V-2, Pokemon Gold and Silver, and Mario RPG 2 are highlighted, noting that Dragon Quest is on PlayStation. The From Letters section features fan art submissions, including a request for a sequel to Get or Love, fan art of Traverse, Live Alive, and arcade games in general. These drawings are from fans across different prefectures in Japan. This page is the 24th issue celebrating the 2nd anniversary of the series, featuring Space World feelings. The writer discusses attending Space World and experiencing issues on the first day. They mention playing Mario RPG 2 and praising its improved action elements and overall fun. They also played Legend of Zelda Gaiden, enjoying Link's transformations but focusing more on racing with Ingo, and Donkey Kong 64, highlighting the mini-games and main game as excellent. However, Mother 3 didn't meet expectations but had cool dialogue and a new battle system, though the dungeon was lacking. They praised Star Kirby 64 as highly rated by other editors. Elsewhere on the page, this month's portrait is a fan art birthday illustration. This month's drink is Night Insect Wine, described as Californian wine from a Tokyo Bay cruise party. The Ask Kanaoka-san Anything section explains postage related to survey postcards. Chuburu Sisters Love Consultation Corner offers love advice. This month's squirrel introduces a 4-year-old Korean chipmunk named Shamaris. Finally, there's a postcard corner providing the submission address for reader contributions. This page explores the value of game events, using the exciting discovery of Nuru at Space World 99 as a hook. It presents a debate on whether such events are worthwhile, focusing on game shows. Positive aspects highlighted include free access to pre-release games, exclusive merchandise, and the excitement of press days, despite the drawbacks of crowds and questionable attendees. Cosplayers and booth companions contribute to the atmosphere, although the text acknowledges issues like unauthorized filming and high food costs. The page reinforces a positive view, acknowledging event expenses like travel and entrance fees. Despite the costs, the allure of experiencing unreleased games and the energy surrounding them, especially in places like Tokyo, is emphasized. The conclusion suggests that the opportunity to play pre-release games and connect with the gaming industry makes game events a worthwhile experience. This page of 64Dream magazine features the comic strip Dream Runker by Shigehisa Nakeiyu. In this episode, Link from The Legend of Zelda is feeling hungry. Bowser from Super Mario comments that Link appears younger than before, which Link attributes to his clothing being hot, While Bowser reminisces about Link's tights, the scene then shifts to Wolf O'Donnell from Star Fox, informing Bowser that the Arwing spaceship is beyond repair, leaving them stranded. Wolf is concerned about their situation, set against a backdrop that includes Mount Fuji. Bowser asks if they wish to leave the island. Finally, Peach and Mario appear, revealing themselves as island residents, surprising the others who believed the island to be uninhabited. This page is a humorous manga featuring characters who resemble Princess Peach, Bowser, Mario, Link, and Kirby. The first panels depict Peach and Bowser as a couple, with Peach calling Bowser her darling. Bowser is surprised by this declaration. Then Mario and another character, possibly a Toad, notice them and wonder if they've seen Bowser's face before. The story shifts to Peach, asking Bowser if there's a way to leave the island, questioning if there are boats or planes. Bowser says no, there aren't any. Mario then asks how they are supposed to leave. Peach suggests using the windfish. Bowser is confused by windfish, and Peach explains it's the large egg in front of them. She says that by playing the siren's instrument they can meet the windfish. Link, holding an ocarina, enthusiastically agrees to play it. Bowser is skeptical about trusting these suspicious characters. The bottom panels shift to a different scene, titled Fighting Masked Corps and Hey Ho 5 Dispatch. It features Kirby encountering a group of Shy Guys, Hey Ho, and preparing to inhale them, being described as replicated Monster Kirby. The Shy Guys are panicked by Kirby's appearance. The text box at the bottom explains that the manga is usually concluded in 2 pages. But this month, there is more to come. It mentions this is a 4-koma manga, and directs the reader to the next page to continue. This page is a 4-panel manga featuring characters from Nintendo games such as Princess Peach, Bowser, Fox McCloud from Star Fox, Mario, Luigi, Link, and Bowser Jr. The characters are discussing awakening the windfish to escape an island, a clear reference to the game The Legend of Zelda, Link's Awakening. Bowser is humorously complaining about being drawn in a small panel on a precious page. Link is suggesting using his ocarina to hatch a giant egg they have found, seemingly believing it contains the windfish. The manga appears to be a comedic interpretation of the game's plot. A comic strip featuring Nintendo characters opens with Bowser and Link discussing Bowser's song's poor reception. Fox McCloud suggests a siren's instrument solution, but Bowser's outburst surprises Link. The scene shifts to Mario and Peach on a beach, mentioning Yoshi's Island. A Koopa Troopa greets Bowser, implying he caused a disturbance. The comic concludes with Mario and Peach expressing gratitude for Bowser, Link, and Fox's actions during their vacation. The comic's inspiration is The Legend of Zelda, Link's Awakening, on the Game Boy, likely the DX version. The author, a Zelda fanatic, finally created the comic after being unable to fit it on one page originally. The editor, Masi-san, approved and notes reader fan mail is unprecedented for the 64Dream series, promising continued DD specials. This page is a special feature for Dream Dunker Dash. The page opens by mentioning that they have taken 5 pages for this special feature, and apologizes to readers who enjoy other corners in the magazine, reassuring them it will return to the usual 2 pages next month. It also mentions that drawing the manga is hard, but they'd like to do it again if they have the chance. The page features comic strips about the game, including panels discussing game mechanics and player experiences. One panel talks about how tones are difficult to apply, especially on characters' foreheads. There's a panel showing Bowser or King Koopa, discussing how difficult he is to draw and how he is perceived as big and scary. Another comic strip section discusses gameplay experiences at an event or location, mentioning a 45-minute wait and 30 minutes after opening before being able to play. One player expresses that they are only playing Zelda because there's nothing else to do, but after playing Dream Dunker Dash, they enjoy it a lot and find the Link character annoying during the game and express the wish for power-ups. The page ends with a quiz question about the music Link is blowing in the 3rd page of the current issue of DD. Readers who answer correctly can win a handmade DD original postcard set by Nakanishi via lottery. The deadline for entries is October 21st. The address for sending entries is also provided. This page is a feature on simulation RPGs, highlighting a Total Attack Special Edition. It showcases 3 games. Firstly, there's Ogre Battle 64. Person of Lordly Caliber with a Final Strategy Guide Edition, on page 60. Secondly, Super Robot Wars 64 is featured on page 66, with a Chapter 0 story introduction. Lastly, Fire Emblem is also mentioned on page 72, with a section titled Summary So Far and Strategy Continuation. The central text poses a philosophical question about the nature of war, asking when it will end and who will be able to tell the tale. The characters illustrated are likely representative of these strategy RPGs. This page is about Ogre Battle 64, Person of Lordly Caliber, presented as the final strategy guide. The guide focuses on obtaining powerful items and magic, specifically dragon language magic and Pedra. It mentions that the goal is to defeat Magnus and bring peace to the Palatinate Kingdom. The page details how to acquire certain powerful spells. There's a section about dragon language magic acquisition method, which lists spells like Annihilation, White Mute, Meteor Strike, and Tempest, along with locations and acquisition methods, such as shops and specific areas within the game. Separate sections explain how to get Light Pedra and Dark Pedra. For Light Pedra, it requires going to Gil's Heights after Chapter 3 between 7 p.m. and 9 p.m., visiting Muji Village, then Volmus mining site to gather information, and finally going to Itakayama and Katvik to receive Father's letter. For Dark Pedra, it mentions playing up to Chapter 2 and after clearing Sawarzan Plateau, going to Jilam Village with a Hellhound unit. You need to listen to information about a boy who lost his dog in a battle, and then visit the village again to give the boy a Hellhound to obtain the Dark Pedra. This page showcases a gameplay guide for Ogre Battle 64, Person of Lordly Caliber. It walks through the initial stages of the game, starting from the prologue and Chapter 1. The guide uses a flowchart to illustrate the game's progression, highlighting key decision points and character encounters. The page details the game's start and the first significant event, Rival Appears, which involves a choice presented to the player. Character introductions are a key part of the page, featuring Diomedes' rank, described as a rough but intelligent rival to the protagonist Magnus. Leia Silvus is also introduced as a classmate from military school, and another rival character. Troa Titan is presented as a character encountered during a map, who will become an ally. A section called Fate's Choice describes a critical decision after a mission, where choosing a certain option marked as will result in losing 5 allies. The guide also introduces Katrida Bilal and Aznabel Bilal. Katrida can become an ally if players visit her location Keys during a mission and have a unit with intellect. Aznabel, on the other hand, becomes available if players have already encountered Katrida. Visiting him in Kinkia with a specific unit after meeting Katrida will allow him to join. The page uses screenshots of the game and character portraits to illustrate these points. The next page provides a strategy guide for Ogre Battle 64, Person of Lordly Caliber. It details Chapter 2, World is Dark, a Guiding Light, presenting a flowchart of locations and story progression. The page highlights key areas such as Scylla Gorge, Region Milesia, Sosan Plateau, Outveda Plateau, and Sabra Lowland, and explains branching paths based on player choices. There's a section focused on Bolmauken's liberation, advising players on the shortest routes and character recruitment, specifically mentioning Aisha, Lidel, and Vado. Character profiles are featured for Aisha Quadel, Lidel Klain, Vado Oloki Zlenka, Saladin Kakam, and Shin Kakto, outlining how to recruit them and their roles within the game. The Father's Fate section discusses choices between discarding emotions and aiming for reconciliation, affecting the story, referencing events like Hidden Road and the Revolutionary Army, and characters Anchises and Kisses, highlighting how these decisions impact the game's narrative. This page is a strategy guide for Ogre Battle 64, Person of Lordly Caliber. It outlines Chapter 3, titled Time Passes, People Bear Their Burden, focusing on the routes and characters you encounter. The chapter starts at Eastern Church Cereses, from Via Highlands, and splits into 2 paths, the North Route and the Mountain Route. The North Route includes locations like Doubtvar Highlands, Rebels' Descent to Capitrium, Legends Whisper Eastern Church Cereses, and Land Outside People Tremos Mountains. The Mountain Route offers locations like Awakened Legion Tremos Fortress, also reaching Legends Whisper Eastern Church Cereses, and leading to 100 Gods Lair Udica. Several characters are highlighted. Meridia O'Keefe, described as Leia's friend and a masterclass character, is shown. Euclowea Rita can join your party if you enter Haunted Rock with Magnus unit. Biskla Val can become an ally after conquering the final base, but only if Zenobia people and Anchises are not already allies. Quas Debonaea can be recruited into Magnus unit if Isha and Saladin are present and public support is medium or higher. Paul Lukash appears after visiting Corupino and then Teaching Ground, and can become an ally later depending on dialogue choices. The page also includes screenshots of the game map, showcasing locations and potential battles, and character portraits, providing visual context to the strategic decisions and characters involved in Chapter 3. The next page is a guide for the final chapter of Ogre Battle 64, Person of Lordly Caliber. It outlines possible events, achieved events, and required events in a flowchart format. The page details different scenarios depending on whether Dio is a companion or his whereabouts are unknown. It mentions characters like Destin, Feroda, Kars, Forarezin, Guildbard, and Opine, and key locations such as Giles Hill, Romulus, Basilica, Latium, Winia, and Tival. The guide focuses on choices made in Chapter 2, offering different paths based on discarding personal feelings or aiming for reconciliation. It also touches upon events related to Lem's Castle Lord, Residents of the Demon World, and the Prison of Darkness, detailing how these scenarios may unfold based on player decisions and whether certain areas have been cleared. It notes that depending on certain conditions, like Kara's not becoming a companion, the boss at Lem's Castle will change to Sylvis. Ogre Battle 64 features 5 advanced classes: Dragon, Princess, Lich, Vampire, and Angel Knight. To become a dragon, you need the dragon helm and armor, obtainable as treasure or through specific town interactions and store availability. Princesses require the pure white dress, town/market visit, battle fan, treasure, and astrology grimoire, shop. Licks need the grimoire Necronomicon and robe of the departed, treasures, and the ring of the dead, event. Vampires require white clothes, treasure, and blood spell, obtained by correctly answering a vampire's questions. Angel Knights require light needle, shop after Chapter 3, plate mail and kite shield, shops, and meet specific stat requirements: Int 60+, Men 61+, Dex 57+, ALI 50 to 100, with luck influencing success. This page features Super Robot Taisen 64, a simulation RPG for the Nintendo 64, published by Banpresto, and released in Japan on October 29, 1999. The page shows in-game screenshots and character art from the game. It focuses on enhancement parts, detailing how these parts can be obtained in events or by defeating specific enemies and used to power up your units. The page lists various enhancement parts, such as boosters to increase movement, mega boosters for even more movement, psycho frames and biosensors for improved performance, and different armor types like hybrid armor and super alloy Z to boost HP and armor. Other parts include repair kits, beam coating and field barriers for defense, and the shuffle emblem to increase spirit. This guide explains 2 key gameplay mechanics in a strategy game: spirit commands and unit special abilities. Spirit commands, similar to magic in RPGs, are pilot-activated skills costing spirit points, SP, and offering various effects like healing, guts, evasion, flash, stat boosts, focus, strike, valor, and special actions: awaken, move again, self-destruct, substitute. Unit special abilities are unique to each unit, providing passive advantages. Examples include beam damage reduction, beam coat, eye field, planet defensor, aura barrier. Unit transformations, separation, transformation combination, and abilities tied to pilot attributes: new type, enhanced person level, saint warrior level, HP levels, bottom level, or morale, super mode, mind as clear water. Shield defense offers damage reduction. The game likely features mecha units, suggested by examples and potentially illustrated by a Gundam unit image. The next page introduces the story of Super Robot Wars 64. It explains that the game features 4 main characters, and this article summarizes the initial scenarios for each. The stories are presented in colored boxes, each following a character path marked by colored arrows. The first story, highlighted in green and titled Roar! Hot-blooded fighter Brat Skywind Arc, Super Robot Series, focuses on Brat, a young military officer fighting against the alien invaders. The second story, in red and titled Rage of Armored Demon God Standing Up, Kabuto Kuji Arc, Super Robot Series, features Kuji Kabuto and Mazinger Z. It mentions they are investigating a research facility attacked by enemies. The third story, in blue and titled Rushing in Arc Light Blue Arc, Real Robot Series, follows Arc, a young man who gets caught up in guerrilla warfare against the Empire and decides to fight. The final story, also in red and titled In the Flames of Destruction Sane Nemesis Arc, Real Robot Series, focuses on Sane, a member of a guerrilla unit fighting against the Empire who is determined to retrieve stolen prototype machines. The page encourages readers to follow the colored arrows to understand each character's story flow in Chapter 0 of the game, and hints that player choices might affect future story developments. Mobile Suit Gundam 0079, The War for Earth. 0079 The War for Earth presents players with multiple story scenarios. In Mycenae and Hyaki, the players group, Karabah, battles the Hyaki tribe. The Day the Meteor Fell involves a colony drop investigation and the appearance of the Gundam Sandrock. Audacious and Fearless Lucane's Challenge and Magnificent Lucane highlight the new Commander Lucane in New York, with potential betrayals and assassination attempts. Fierce Attack of Elbers showcases a powerful robot attack. Torrential Currents Pride, Time of Farewell, depicts Brad's pivotal decision. Black Gundam involves a special unit pursuing a prototype mobile suit and encountering familiar Gundam pilots. Finally, Time Has Passed features a reunion on the battlefield and encounters with old friends. Each story offers unique conflicts and character interactions. This page is an introduction to the upcoming Game Boy Color title, Super Robot Tyson Link Battler. It's presented as a simulation battle game where you build teams of robots and pilots to compete in battles. Set within the world of Super Robot Tyson 64, the game's story involves a network system where robot battles, called Link Battles, are popular. You begin as a Drank battler and aim to climb the ranks to become the strongest. The page details team formation, explaining you can have up to 3 teams registered, and each team can have robots and pilots. Robot units and pilots can be purchased at the data shop using VP earned from battles. There is a point system of up to 5 points to create a team. Pilots are restricted to piloting robots from the same series. For example, Gundam pilots can only pilot Gundam-type robots. The ultimate goal is to win battles, increase your rank, and become the top Link battler. The screenshots show gameplay, team setup screens, and a ranking table for the D-League. The game is for 1 player, supports the Game Boy Color, and communication cable for linking up. It's scheduled for release on October 1, 1999. And will cost 4,500 yen. This page details the Link battle system, outlining the flow of a battle. It starts with team selection, where players choose their units and anticipate their opponent's picks. Next is unit selection, where the order of units entering the battle is decided. Then, in the command selection phase, players input commands for each unit for up to 6 rounds, using command slots and considering energy costs. The page shows an example command input for Mazinger Z, Level 1, for 6 rounds. Pass, pass, move forward, attack, pass, pass. The battle execution is described in Step 4, showing how the commands are executed in order, round by round. Examples from rounds 1 to 6 are given, detailing actions such as both sides pass, Guyver evades, Guyver moves forward, Guyver attacks, and finally, both sides pass. Step 5 shows the battle resolution, where units clash and damage is dealt until one side is defeated. The article highlights the interaction between Super Robot Wars 64 and Link Battler for the Game Boy, explaining how units can be exchanged between the 2 games. It mentions that by linking the N64 and Game Boy games, players can send units from one game to the other, expanding gameplay possibilities in both Super Robot Wars 64 and Link Battler. Characters like Mazinger Z and Guyver are featured in the screenshots demonstrating the battle system. This guide offers strategy tips for Fire Emblem, Thracia 776, a Japan-exclusive Super Famicom game. Chapter 1 focuses on familiarizing players with combat, using Leaf to defeat the strongest enemy, a thief, capturing enemies, collecting items, and recruiting Othen and Halvin. Chapter 2 advises visiting all houses, leveling Leaf by letting pirates spawn, and recruiting Ronin and Tania. Chapter 3 emphasizes rescuing captured children, resetting if necessary, managing enemy reinforcements, obtaining castle treasure, and using Finn to defeat mages. Chapter 4 focuses on protecting allies' escape, prioritizing Leaf's escape last, and managing different starting positions if Rufus is imprisoned. It advises weapon equipping, using Lara to open doors, and securing the treasure chest in the same turn. Game information lists the title, publisher, release date, price, genre, player count, media, and notes on NP blocks. The next page presents strategies for chapters 5 and 6 of what appears to be a strategy RPG, possibly Fire Emblem. Thracia 776, though the title isn't explicitly stated. Chapter 5, titled Mother and Child, lists initial playable units including Leif, Nana, Ivel, and others. The objective is to escape from the designated exit. Enemy units. Enemy units include mages, priests, snipers, bishops, soldiers, axe armors, archers, sword armors, dark mages, dark bishops, and named characters Beld, Rydrick, and Vandal. The advice is to escape quickly, avoiding solo actions due to numerous enemies, and to prioritize rescuing Nana in the map's center. Screenshots display in-game dialogue between characters like Ivel and Nana, emphasizing rescuing them. Chapter 6, Escape, again has an exit route objective and lists initial units similar to Chapter 5, adding Hicks. Enemy units are axe armors, sword armors, bow armors, lance armors, soldiers, mages, bishops, priests, and named characters Truman and Rydrick. The strategy advises using mounted units for a swift clear, suggesting that clearing all enemies is also viable for item collection and level grinding. Visiting houses mentioned, potentially for recruiting new characters. Screenshots showcase dialogue with characters like Galzus and another unidentified character, discussing the mysterious Rydrick. A point of interest highlighted is the treasure box obtainable by approaching it from the top right. This page is dedicated to Chapter 7, Shield of Thracia, of the Japanese exclusive N64 title, Fire Emblem. Thracia 776. The objective of this chapter is to reach a castle that will become an ally. The page lists the initial ally units and enemy units for this chapter, showcasing a strategy guide. The advice given is to quickly reach the castle using Corinne, being mindful of enemy placements and reinforcements. Taking the left route on the map is suggested for gaining experience, utilizing the terrain to your advantage, and easily defeating enemies. A screenshot of the game map shows units and terrain, alongside a dialogue box. A thief character named Siva is also mentioned. Furthermore, the page hints at the game's progression, listing chapter titles up to Chapter 16, to give an idea of the game's length. Finally, there is an unrelated section announcing the winners of an Emblem Soft Present Draw. This page is from the Deathman's Gorilla N64 Classroom, and it is a Q&A section responding to readers' questions about the Nintendo 64. The first question asks about the differences between video output types like composite, S-video, component, and RGB, explaining that the image quality improves in that order, with RGB offering the best quality by sending separate color signals. Another question is about why cartridge sizes are displayed in bytes and not bits, clarifying that bytes are used for capacity while bits are for data width, and byte representation is considered more common for storage size and less confusing, even if bits might be technically more accurate in certain contexts. The next question is about what happens when a game cartridge is ejected mid-game and if the screen will freeze, confirming that the screen will indeed freeze if the cartridge is removed during gameplay. Finally, a question is posed about what the 64 in Nintendo 64 stands for, and the answer clarifies that it refers to the 64-bit CPU of the console, comparing it to a car engine's displacement. It also mentions that older systems like PC and Game Boy used 8-bit CPUs. A screenshot from Super Mario 64 is included. This page is an article discussing summer vacations and gaming culture. The writer describes their summer vacation experience, camping with friends and family in California, enjoying the scenery, and good food. They mention how even during vacation, gaming culture is present. They were surprised by the continued Pokémon boom, noting the popularity of Pokémon Pinball and the anime being broadcast frequently. The article highlights how children at campsites were engrossed in their Game Boys, playing Pokémon. This leads to a discussion about the appeal of game characters, mentioning that characters like Mario and Pikachu are universally loved and considered culture. They connect this to anime characters too, discussing how certain things like anime and games have become part of Japanese culture. The article also briefly touches on the game industry, mentioning that the Dreamcast is about to be released in North America, and that N64 game prices were being lowered to around $99.95. It discusses the phenomenon of collecting and trading in games, especially Pokémon's collecting and exchanging aspect, and how this enhances the fun. The writer concludes by reflecting on how games and anime characters are now deeply ingrained in culture, comparing anime characters to Disney, and suggesting Nintendo has become a leading brand in the video game industry in America. This page is the N64 forum section, featuring readers' submissions and opinions. One reader shares their positive impressions of Nintendo Space World 99, highlighting Doshin the Giant and The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time as standouts. They were particularly impressed by the freedom in Doshin the Giant, feeling like they could do anything. Another section discusses the dangers of Draiteku, seemingly referring to cheat devices or walkthroughs, arguing that they diminish the game's intended experience and the value of in-game achievements like collecting stall children in Zelda. The page also includes reader survey responses, with requests for posters as magazine extras, comments on the black and white pages smelling like sushi, and discussions around game release dates and the content of the Mario Golf 64 strategy guide. Overall, the page is a collection of player feedback, covering event experiences, concerns about cheating, and general reader opinions on the magazine's content and N64 games. This page from 64Dream magazine highlights reader impressions and previews of several Nintendo 64 games. The first section focuses on Neon Genesis Evangelion, emphasizing the game's dedication to recreating the anime's atmosphere and essence. A reader from Osaka, named Marugame Takeshi, praises the game's visuals, stating they are impressed with what the N64 can achieve. He mentions that the game's mission structure and simple controls are appealing, even though he has some minor complaints. The second section is about Ogre Battle 64, Person of Lordly Caliber. A reader from Tokushima Prefecture, named Batsu no Boku, expresses strong positive feelings for the game, admitting to being a huge fan of simulation RPGs and having purchased the game on release day. He highlights the compelling characters and the game's depth as time passes. He was initially drawn in after playing for an hour and was impressed by the report system. Finally, GameCube Powerful Pro Yaku 6, which was released internationally as Power Pro 6, is also featured. A reader from Hokkaido, named Mitamura Hiroaki, mentions that this game sparked his interest in the Power Pro series, highlighting the realistic sound effects, player abilities, and the overall sense of realism in the game, even comparing it to actually playing baseball. He enjoys the dramatic pennant mode and the typical home run race and scenario modes, noting the game is more realistic than previous entries. This page is a review section from the magazine, focusing on two N64 titles. The first review is for Pilot Wings 64. The reviewer from Kumamoto Prefecture, named Keizu, describes the game as having a deep world, and notes that even though it was originally priced at 9,800 yen, it's now available for around 2,000 yen, making it a great value. They emphasize that the fun of flying in the game is substantial, and even with fewer stages, the depth is impressive. They highlight the 3D graphics and the enjoyable camera work while flying through the vast sky. The second review is for Ogre Battle 64, Person of Lordly Caliber. This reviewer, from Shizuoka Prefecture, also named Keizu, describes the game as explosively powerful. They mention it's for both couples and solo players. The review praises the game's story, which is deeply engaging, and the gameplay system, which is refined and less tedious than other strategy RPGs. It's noted as the second N64 title from Treasure, following Bakuretsu Muteki Bangayo, and the Ogre Battle flavor is definitely present. The review also points out that the game's depth is substantial, with elements like character growth and unit combinations being deeply strategic. It's also mentioned as a good introduction to strategy RPGs. Both reviews are positive, emphasizing the depth and replayability of each game despite their different genres. This page highlights Nintendo's minor Game Boy software and a GB software rewrite service that started in November. It mentions that some Game Boy titles have become difficult to obtain. 3 games are featured. Radar Mission Simulation, described as a submarine battle game, emphasizing strategic placement of ships and tactical gameplay to destroy enemy ships. It mentions elements like radar and various attack methods, appealing to strategy game fans. Solar Striker Shooting, a shooting game where players control a fighter to destroy enemies. It's described as having impactful hits and detailed stages, with a story about destroying an evil Black Star Torino. Quicks Action, an action puzzle game, a conversion of the arcade game. It mentions occupying over 75% of the screen to clear stages, with communication battles and 2-player mode. It also highlights that winning one game decides the victory. The page also has a section titled This Month's Pickup, recommending Game Boy Dragon Quest 1 and 2 and Wizardry Empire for purchase before October 20th. It suggests these games are suitable for long commutes on trains as enjoyable RPGs. Wizardry Empire is described as a 3D RPG with elements that might feel a bit old, but still has deep and engaging gameplay. This Akihabara price survey from September 8th focuses on console and game prices in the Akihabara district. The survey highlights the increasing availability and affordability of N64 titles, with older games becoming more accessible. Readers are encouraged to compare prices across various stores. The survey details hardware prices for consoles like the Nintendo 64, Game Boy Color, and others, noting the affordability of the Game Boy Color. Extensive software price listings are provided, with a focus on N64 games like The Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time, and Mario Kart 64. The article also mentions sections for Rokukan Dream Entertainment Club and Rokukan Backstreet, with the latter announcing the launch of a homepage for related shopping and the Akihabara price investigation team. A giveaway for Wave Race 64 is also detailed, while the survey notes the availability of overseas Game Boy software and the N64's shift toward 3D games. This page presents a catalog of Super Famicom games, organized by genre, and detailing the game title, memory capacity, SRAM, manufacturer, and price. The genres covered include action, role-playing games, puzzle, sports, and others. Notable games listed are Super Donkey Kong 2 and 3, Super Metroid, Street Fighter II Turbo, and various Dragon Quest and Final Fantasy titles. Puzzle games like Panel de Pon and Puzzle Bobble are also mentioned. Towards the bottom, there's a section detailing release dates for Game Boy and Super Famicom titles, including titles such as Super Real Fishing, Pocket Monster Green, and Pocket Monster Blue. Several upcoming releases for October, November, and December are listed with titles such as Super Robot Tyson, Pocket Monster Silver and Gold, Super Mario Bros. Series, and Bomberman Max. This page is a feature article about Nintendo Space World 99, Part 2 of a larger report on the event. The page highlights the massive attendance figures, mentioning that despite cloudy weather and free admission for all 3 days, the event still drew 170,000 visitors. This is compared to the Tokyo Game Show held earlier in the year, emphasizing Space World 99's success as a single-company event. The images show the event space, with large screens displaying gameplay footage of Perfect Dark being showcased to the attendees. The attendance figures for each day are listed in a table, showing the event took place from September 27th to 29th, 1999. This page highlights the immense popularity of N64 software, particularly Zelda and Kirby, at a Nintendo event that attracted a huge crowd of 170,000 people. The event showcased the incredible lineup of N64 games, emphasizing that even anticipated titles like Zelda Gaiden, Majora's Mask, Mario RPG 2, likely referring to Paper Mario, and Kirby 64 were available to play. It notes that people eagerly lined up to experience these games. The article points out that the N64 corner was notably more crowded and exciting compared to previous events where Pokémon dominated, with titles like Zelda Gaiden and Mother 3, which was in development at the time but ultimately released on GBA, drawing massive attention this year. The Smash Bros. Corner was especially popular, with the longest wait time recorded at an astonishing 3 hours and 2 minutes, demonstrating its huge appeal. The page also mentions the enduring popularity of Star Fox 64, Lylat Wars, and the upcoming Pokémon Gold and Silver, which further fueled the excitement at the event. Illustrations depict the bustling crowds and various game booths, conveying the lively atmosphere and enthusiasm of attendees enjoying the N64 games on display. This page is a report from Nintendo Space World 99, focusing on different areas and events within the show. The top section discusses the limitations of two-player gaming at the event, mentioning games like Biohazard 2, Resident Evil 2, and Winback having multiplayer capabilities in their software. However, it notes that there weren't enough demo units available to properly showcase them. It questions if 15 Rudelander Gaiden and Donkey Kong 64 demo units were sufficient for the crowd size. The Miyamoto-san stage appears. Section highlights Shigeru Miyamoto's presence, especially at the 64DD corner. It mentions the new company LandNet DD, managing the 64DD corner, and the talent studio area being popular. The report mentions Miyamoto making Game Boy Color Zelda, Link's Awakening DX, at the venue, and then appearing on stage to play Giant Donkey Kong, Donkey Kong 64, with a user representative. It describes Ida Kazutoshi calling Miyamoto God. Miyamoto introduced himself as an elementary school 6th grader, and Miyamoto Shigeru. The Donkey Kong stage section describes the atmosphere of the Donkey Kong stage at Space World, noting it was brighter and more colorful than the Tokyo Game Show. It mentions companions handing out leaflets, and the stage show featuring a dance performance with hip-hop dancers dressed as Donkey Kong characters. The Nintendo Space World 99 MAP is a cartoon illustration showing different areas of the event, including a Pokemon area, a DD corner, and a Donkey Kong area, with little cartoon figures representing attendees and staff. This page reports on the Pokemon Gold and Silver corner at a Nintendo event, likely Space World. The article highlights the popularity of the Pokemon Gold and Silver merchandise, noting that the merchandise corner was very crowded. It mentions that the Pokemon Gold and Silver games were playable at the event, with 288 demo units available, occupying a large portion of the venue. The article states the release date for Pokemon Gold and Silver was officially announced at the event as November 21, 1999. There's also a section about a Mew distribution event, where 50,000 people were expected to participate. The page features photos of the event space, including the merchandise area, and people receiving Mew. The text also mentions lines for the demo units, and merchandise being long and crowded. This page reports on the atmosphere and happenings at a Nintendo Space World 99 event, held at Makuhari Messe. The event featured Pikachu and Atsuko Saito, attracting both children and adults. The page highlights the lively environment and happy attendees there. There was a stage show featuring Pokemon characters like Pikachu, Hitokage, Charmander, and Togepi. Voice actors also performed, making it enjoyable for adults. The editor-in-chief of Nintendo Power magazine from America was also impressed and hoped to bring the show to America. The event had around 1,000 staff members managing operations, including Nintendo-related staff, LandNet DD, and Tsutenkaku staff. The event was supervised by Mr. Tezuka Takuo, who was involved in Zelda Gaiden and Ocarina of Time. There are sections introducing people encountered at the booth, including staff wearing different colored t-shirts to identify their roles. Black for N64 corner, red for the administration office, orange for 64DD corner, blue for event-related staff, gray for GB corner, and green for licensing staff. Attendees who visited the Pokemon card event in Hawaii were also present. The page concludes by noting that 2 years prior, attendees received Pokemon Furikake as a gift. This page is an interview with Shigeru Miyamoto, titled, Local Dispatch Interview, 5 Consecutive Shots. It's part of an interview part 1, focusing on character development for the Legend of Zelda series, specifically discussing Ocarina of Time and a new Zelda Gaiden side story title. Miyamoto talks about the upcoming Zelda Gaiden being more serious and darker than Ocarina of Time. He mentions that it's set to be released around November and is currently about 80% complete in terms of the main system. He estimates the volume of the new Zelda game to be around 200 pages, compared to a 300-page book equivalent for Ocarina of Time, implying it's a substantial game, but perhaps slightly smaller in scope than Ocarina of Time. Miyamoto also discusses the Space World 99 show, mentioning it feels like a summer festival for families, and that the customer reaction has been positive, with many asking if it will be held next year. He highlights the interactive face-making aspect of the show, where people can create faces and use them in games, hinting at a possible game mechanic or feature related to user-created content. This page is from the Space World 99 Special Feature Part 2, and is titled, Memory Expansion Pack Expands Link's Adventure. It features an interview with Miyamoto discussing The Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time, and a side story or Gaiden, referred to as Ura Zelda, which sounds like Master Quest. Miyamoto explains how the memory expansion allows for richer textures and a more detailed game world, making the game more immersive. There are screenshots from Ocarina of Time, and it's mentioned that they are considering using the same system to create a different game. The interview also touches upon the ending of Ocarina of Time, and their goal for players to reach 80% completion. In an interview, Shigeru Miyamoto discusses Zelda Gaiden, later known as Majora's Mask, emphasizing its focus on masks and deeper character development compared to Ocarina of Time. The game centers around a mask-based gameplay system and features key characters like the Stall Child and Mask Salesman,
with a darker narrative. The real-time system creates a sense of urgency as events unfold within a limited time frame. While the demo lacked items like the hammer, the final version will include new items, such as a punch-based Goron. Miyamoto also talks about the upcoming Dolphin console, which is in the early stages of technological experimentation. Nintendo is looking ahead to the future of entertainment and aims to create experiences beyond current imagination, possibly starting with Mario. A screenshot from Zelda Gaiden hints at the inclusion of scenes not shown in the demo, such as Link fighting in a desert environment. In an interview regarding the highly anticipated Pokémon Gold and Silver for Game Boy Color, Nintendo's Takehiro Izuchi discusses the game's development. Facing immense pressure to meet the November 21st release date, the team endured absolute sleep deprivation. The games, showcased at Space World 99 with 288 Game Boys, are presented as entirely new experiences, designed to be captivating. Izuchi explains the choice of standard Game Boy cartridges, prioritizing cost-effectiveness and mass production. The team, consisting of 70 to 80 people, focuses heavily on debugging. Izuchi expresses satisfaction with the game's progress and assures fans of its release. He also notes the importance of features like the clock function, preventing cartridge rewrites. The interview concludes with a hint of upcoming information about next-generation Game Boy plans. This page is an interview with Masahiro Sakurai, the HAL laboratory director, about the Super Smash Bros. Fighting Battle Tournament. The tournament spanned 3 days and had 15,000 participants, which greatly excited Sakurai. He mentions being surprised by the overwhelming popularity of the event. The interview discusses how the tournament showcased the game's appeal and popularity, exceeding expectations. Sakurai mentions receiving positive feedback from players and seeing the enthusiasm firsthand. He highlights that the tournament was a large gathering, even for a fighting game, and emphasizes that it was the first Super Smash Bros. Tournament. Sakurai talks about character balance, noting Ness and Kirby's strength in team battles and Fox's strength in one-on-one fights. However, he points out that since the tournament was 4-player battles, Ness and Kirby stood out. He mentions that the international versions of Super Smash Bros. Are selling well, especially in America, exceeding sales in Japan. They discuss plans for future tournaments and the possibility of a world championship. The interview touches upon the challenges of localization for international versions and balancing the game across different regions. Sakurai also notes the wide age range of participants at the event and comments on the voice actors for international versions, mentioning they aim to have local voice actors for each region's anime style. He also discusses the ongoing work on Super Smash Bros. Even after release and hints at future developments. In an interview, Mr. Miura from Creatures Inc. discusses Mother 3, then subtitled Pig King of the End. The game's scenario, including the ending, was finalized, with core elements completed 2 years prior. Music by Keiichi Suzuki is integral, especially in battles, with rhythm-based combat synchronized to the soundtrack. The game was designed for a seamless musical experience. Planned for 12 chapters, Mother 3 shifted from 64DD to cartridge format, aiming for a dynamic experience. The prologue features characters like Flint, the twins, Ryuka and Claus, and Boney. The narrative contrasts light and darkness, highlighting the twins' differing personalities. Miura emphasizes the Mother series tradition of surprising players, shifting from the lightheartedness of Mother 2 to a potentially melancholic tone in Mother 3, maintaining the core concept of exceeding expectations. This interview with Kazutoshi Ida, creator of Doshin the Giant, focuses on the game's positive reception at Space World 99. Ida was thrilled by the children's enthusiastic reactions to the game, noting their close engagement with the screen. He discusses the game's evolving aesthetic, moving from a black or white style to a playful, miniature garden-like design. Music, unique to village areas, is considered a key element, with a soundtrack CD planned. Ida playfully avoids revealing the gameplay length. He highlights Doshin's large balloon display at the show, considering similar installations in public spaces. Ultimately, Ida found customer reactions, especially the children's enjoyment and the popularity of the Donkey Girl characters, extremely rewarding. This page is a feature called 64DD Talk Live, Games, Play, and Evolution. It's a report from a talk event held at the Space World 64DD booth on August 27th at 1 p.m. The talk is about Giants Doshin, Kyojin no Doshin, for the 64DD and the future of games. The speakers are Ida Kazutoshi from Giants Doshin 1 and Endo Masanobu from DT, discussing their thoughts on Giants Doshin and the future of gaming with 64DD. The discussion is themed around games,
play, and evolution, and explores what new worlds games can offer. The discussion points highlighted include the combination of Populous and Mario as inspirations for Giant's Doshin, using network capabilities for new ways to play, user connectivity, and creating a sense of community through games. The importance of network gaming for trading cards and enhancing gameplay. The aim to create a world where users and creators are connected, and users can feel like they are part of game creation. Endo mentions that even in test play, DT feels playable alone. The discussion touches on the future of games in the network era, focusing on how network capabilities can expand the game world and create new experiences. There's also a side note called Hamidashi Ida-san, with a humorous comment about the giant character Doshin and its belly button. It mentions that the name of the belly button is Henpo. The next page is from the N64 question box section and is volume 38 of this series. This edition features a Q&A with Mr. Hondo from Nintendo's Public Relations Department, who is referred to as Answerman. The main topic is Nintendo Space World, and a question is asked about the event and the announcement of the Game Boy Advance. Mr. Hondo explains that Space World was a great success, especially given the timing right after the announcement of the Game Boy Advance, which generated a lot of news around Nintendo. Another question from Ishikawa Kulapan asks about impressions of Space World. Mr. Hondo responds enthusiastically, stating he was very happy with the huge turnout of visitors. He mentions they initially aimed for 150,000 attendees, but actually had 170,000 people come. He highlights the Smash Bros. Battle event as particularly memorable and popular, noting that many people were eager to participate. The page includes a photo from the Smash Bros. Battle event, showing a large crowd participating and many screens set up for players, emphasizing the popularity of Super Smash Bros. For the N64 at the event, even 7 months after its release. Space World attendees received a Pokémon CD as a souvenir, reflecting the focus on Pokémon Gold and Silver. The Pokémon League's future is uncertain, contingent on Super Smash Bros. Success, with promotional efforts planned. Space World is typically held in the Kanto region for logistical and customer-based reasons, though national Pokémon League events span multiple locations. Upcoming N64 game releases include Mini Racers and Slitherlink Radicar. Internal development encompasses 5 titles like Custom Robo, Donkey Kong 64, Mario Party 2, and Sugoroku Gemini, alongside Pokémon Gold and Silver and Donkey Kong Land 2, with targeted release dates from September to December. This page is a Q&A section. The first question is about the Talent Studio game, with the person asking if photos are being used without permission in the game, showing a screenshot seemingly of Mario in a basic 3D space, and mentioning using a digital camera and pamphlet from Space World for images. The next question is about the release date of Pokémon Gold and Silver, confirming the delay to November 21st, and stating the price will be 3,000 yen. It mentions that copies will be available at general stores and not just Pokémon centers, and that demos were available at Space World, but with long queues and only 15 minutes playtime. Another question asks about when 64DD pre-orders will start, with the answer indicating mid-October, and mentioning that software like Mario Artist Series and F-Zero X expansion kit for 64DD will be sold by RanNet DD, a new company funded by Nintendo and Recruit. The final question asks about Pokémon Gold and Silver pre-orders again, but from a retailer's perspective, explaining that retail stores will decide on pre-order campaigns and to check local flyers and store information. It also discusses sales expectations, mentioning previous Pokémon games like Red, Green, Blue, and Pikachu selling millions, and anticipates similar success for Gold and Silver, expecting around 8 million sales. Reader questions cover 2 topics. The first discusses the upcoming Pokémon Gold and Silver commercial, still in production and aimed at elementary school children, featuring a man discovering the game on a Game Boy. The commercial hints at a resurgence of Pokémon popularity. The second topic introduces Mobile 21, a joint venture between Konami and Nintendo focused on mobile communication. The company will develop games for the Game Boy Advance and explore communication features for Nintendo's upcoming Dolphin console, successor to the N64. They are jointly investing and hiring around 100 staff, primarily programmers and designers with game development experience. Screenshots from the Pokémon commercial and a picture of Nintendo's president are included. This page presents a Nintendo official Q&A section. The first question is about whether the Zelda Gaiden game will support print services. The answer is, currently, there are no plans for this. It mentions Lawson stores and print services, but clarifies that while not for Zelda print services, Game Boy Color games like The Legend of Zelda, Oracle of Seasons, and The Legend of Zelda, Oracle of Ages, and Super Mario Bros. Deluxe are compatible with the Pocket Printer and can be used with the Loppy device from December onwards. The page includes a screenshot of a Game Boy Color calendar application.
The next question is about the appeal of Kirby 64, the Crystal Shards. The answer highlights its excellent and easy controls, making it enjoyable even for young children. It also mentions the cute character expressions and its popularity at Space World, noting that many users were elementary school children, with older students being more interested in Perfect Dark. Finally, the last question asks about Kirby's gender. The response explains that Kirby does have character settings and was created by Mr. Sakurai. His height is around 20 centimeters, but his gender is a secret. His hobbies are napping and karaoke. His age is unknown, and he lives alone. He has desires to try things he cannot do, like arm wrestling and Cossack dancing. A quote Kirby likes is mentioned as, "Tomorrow's wind will blow."
The N64 question box answers questions about upcoming Nintendo 64 games. One question concerns Jet Force Gemini's character design, explaining the shift from cuter to more mature characters for the Japanese market. Another discusses Excitebike 64, highlighting its realistic approach and memory expansion pack use, comparing it to Wave Race and 1080 Degrees Snowboarding. Paneled upon 64's development by NST in America is also addressed. Finally, the question box confirms the high likelihood of Zelda's release on Dolphin, GameCube, with user feedback potentially influencing the release order of Mario and Zelda.
The page encourages N64-related question submissions via fax.
This page is a news announcement regarding Nintendo and Konami's joint venture, Mobile 21, to create software for Game Boy Color and mobile phones. The major news is the unveiling of the Game Boy Advance, Nintendo's next handheld console, slated for release in August 2000. The article details a press conference featuring Nintendo President Yamauchi and Konami President Uehara, where the Game Boy Advance was announced. The article emphasizes the console's enhanced capabilities compared to the Game Boy Color, including its 32-bit RISC CPU, reflective TFT color LCD screen, and a wider screen size. Technical specifications highlighted are the screen dimensions of 40.8 mm by 61.2 mm, a resolution of 240 by 160 dots, a color palette of 65,000 colors, a weight of approximately 140 grams, and a 20-hour battery life using AA batteries. It also mentions the CPU is ARMBASED and manufactured by a UK company.
The article concludes by noting that the release date and price are yet to be determined. The screen size is compared to the SFC title, Mother 2, to illustrate the increased display area. This page details the establishment of a joint venture company, Mobile 21, by Nintendo and Konami. It's highlighted that this company is focused on game development for mobile phones and Game Boy Color, leveraging Konami's creative power and Nintendo's sales network. Konami's president, Kagemasa Kozuki, gives a message about the new company and their goals. The page also announces recruitment for Mobile 21. In the lower half of the page, the Nintendo Power Game Boy software rewriting service at Lawson stores is announced to start from November 1st. Using GB memory cartridges, players can rewrite up to 7 games. Games such as Super Mario Bros. Deluxe, Golf, Solar Striker, Dr. Mario, F1 Race, Game Boy Wars 2, and Metroid 2 are listed as part of the service, each with a rewrite price of 800 or 1,000 yen. The page also shows an image of the GB memory cartridge and its packaging, stating that Super Mario Land 3 is pre-written on the initial cartridges. This page features an interview with Nintendo President Yamauchi, titled, President Yamauchi's Full Statement. The discussion centers on Nintendo's strategy and a newly established joint venture company. Yamauchi explains the rationale behind forming this company, highlighting a shift in the game market. He notes a move away from large, time-consuming games towards smaller, shorter play experiences, particularly in the Japanese market. The interview delves into the concept of game software's qualitative transformation and Nintendo's partnership with Konami. They discuss the new joint venture, emphasizing its focus on game software development, especially for mobile and handheld devices, linking with mobile phones to create new gaming experiences. Yamauchi addresses questions about Mobile 21, a new initiative involving Konami and Nintendo, and their plans for overseas expansion, especially in communication-based games. He mentions that overseas expansion is being considered, particularly for the next year. He also discusses that the joint venture is not looking for additional members beyond Nintendo and Konami, emphasizing
they seek creators for game software within these existing structures. In a Mitsuki Monthly News interview, Nintendo President Mr. Yamauchi and Konami President Mr. Uemura discussed their joint venture, Mobile 21. They aim to capitalize on the rapidly growing mobile phone market in Japan, seeing its potential to rival home consoles. The focus is on creating innovative mobile games that are engaging and distinct from existing content, with quality being paramount. The collaboration leverages Nintendo's hardware and game design expertise, with Konami's content development experience, particularly in sports and music genres. Mobile 21 will initially focus on these areas, while also exploring new game possibilities. They acknowledge the technical challenges of mobile online multiplayer, especially for real-time genres. The interview concludes with a photo symbolizing their partnership and anticipation for future Mobile 21 software. The All-Japan Model Hobby Show will feature limited edition Char Zaku 2 and Gato's Gelgoog models. The monthly newspaper staff corner discusses summer homework, including Japanimation and Pokemon. The Midsummer Excitement Super Robot Wars Great Thanksgiving Festival, which announced Super Robot Wars Alpha, was held at ZEP Tokyo. Pokemon Center Online launched on AOL, offering Pokemon goods for AOL members, with CD-ROMs distributed to explain the service. New Pokemon Kids figures, including characters from Pokemon Gold and Silver, were announced with candy and collectible cards. The 4th Game of the Year awards were held, with Final Fantasy V-2 winning the Grand Prix, and The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time as the runner-up. The AV Selector, an automatic switch for up to 4 game consoles or AV devices, is now on sale. The next page features 2 main articles. The first is about Chunsoft's president, Nakamura, discussing the new Mystery Dungeon Shiren the Wanderer game for N64. He mentions it's aimed at fans of the SFC and GB versions, and they are working hard to meet expectations. He notes that while they can't show game footage yet, they'll announce the title and reveal game details and release date as soon as possible. The second article is about Sega Dreamcast and N64 price drops in America. It highlights that the N64 price has been significantly reduced to $99.95, including a purple controller. It also mentions a bundle deal with Star Wars Episode I, Racer, for $119.95. The article notes this is a good deal compared to the original $199 launch price, and suggests it might be Dreamcast's attempt to counter the N64's price drop. However, it also clarifies that Nintendo of Japan has no plans to lower the price in Japan, which is a bit disappointing. There are also smaller snippets. One is a manga comic strip titled Link's Big Adventure, featuring Link and his humorous attempts to open a door using a mask and an axe. Another section briefly mentions that Dai is selling Recruit shares and suggests this might cause restructuring in the game industry, potentially leading to Nintendo acquiring these shares due to Recruit's internet portal business and game industry connections. Space World featured a popular Game Boy software corner, showcasing a variety of titles alongside N64 games. Pokemon Gold and Silver were a major draw, attracting large crowds despite multiple demo units. Other Game Boy games also generated anticipation. 2 highlighted titles were Dragon Quest I and II, near completion, and The Legend of Zelda: Mystical Seed of Courage Chapter of Power, about 30% complete. Dragon Quest I and II, despite the Game Boy's screen limitations, impressed children with its music, and is recommended for newcomers to the series. The Zelda title, with a similar atmosphere to previous entries, includes a link system affecting other chapters, and features color graphics with seasonal elements. Movie footage of the game is available on Nintendo's homepage. A Game Boy Color event showcased numerous upcoming titles. Anticipation is high for RTYPEDX, a revival of the arcade shooter series, and Quick Adventure, a new take on the classic Quicks. Muscle Training GB offers a competition-based experience linked to a TV show. The event also highlighted a software corner featuring a large list of games with release details, including Kiseki Monogatari, Game Boy Dragon Quest I and II, V-Rally Championship Edition, and Pokemon Gold and Silver. Additional games listed include Beatmania GB2 Gacha Mix, The Legend of Zelda, Oracle of Seasons Ages, and several Bomberman Max titles. The next page is a preview of The Legend of Zelda: Oracle of Seasons, Oracle of Ages for the Game Boy Color. It highlights the game's 3 parts: the Chapter of Power, Chapter of Wisdom, and Chapter of Courage. noting you can start with any chapter and that your actions in one chapter will influence the others through a link system. The article also discusses dungeon exploration, stating that dungeons in this new Zelda game are similar to the original Zelda, with dungeon entrances scattered across the map, and each room being self-contained. It mentions boss characters waiting deep within dungeons.
Furthermore, the page introduces a new element, the Rod of Seasons. By using this rod, players can change the season in the field, affecting the environment and gameplay. From spring's greenery to winter's snowy landscape, the screenshots illustrate how different seasons change the game world. A new character, Ricky the Kangaroo, is introduced as a helpful companion. The text mentions the game is for Game Boy Color and hints at mysteries and puzzles related to the seasons in Hyrule. This page features a mix of Game Boy Color and Super Famicom (SNES) game announcements. Starting with the Super Famicom game, it's Picross NP Volume 4, a puzzle game available via Nintendo Power Cartridge Service. This volume features Star Fox characters, and completing puzzles unlocks character animations. There's even a contest to win a Game Boy Color. Moving to Game Boy Color, there's Beatmania GB2 Gacha Mix, the second in the Beatmania GB series from Konami. This rhythm game boasts 5 courses and 25 songs, including popular tracks like Yozora no Mukao and Friends. It also supports link battles for multiplayer fun. The game includes various music genres such as J-pop, band music, idol songs, and anime themes. Next is Bomberman Max, which is launching with 2 versions, Light Warrior and Dark Warrior, for Game Boy Color. This action game from Hudson is the first in the series to have 2 versions, focusing on protecting the Cherubim characters.
Lastly, there's Pocket GT, a racing game for Game Boy Color developed by MTO. This game emphasizes realistic racing with diverse courses ranging from winding roads to highways. It includes 32 car types and tuning options, offering both a challenge mode and time attack mode for dedicated racers. This page showcases 4 Game Boy Color titles. The first game is a remake of the classic arcade game Chi-X, where players must capture territory while avoiding enemies. The second game is Sweet Ange, an ETC genre game where players participate in a sweets-making contest, combining ingredients to create desserts. The third game is Kiniku Banzuke GB, Muscle Ranking GB, a sports genre game based on a popular Japanese TV show, featuring mini-games involving strength and skill. Finally, Columns GB, Osamu Tezuka Characters, is a puzzle game featuring characters from the works of Osamu Tezuka, similar to the classic Columns gameplay, where players align falling jewels. This page showcases a variety of Game Boy and Game Boy Color titles. The Great Battle Pocket from Banpresto is a card battle game featuring popular heroes like Kamen Rider, Gundam, and Ultraman. It emphasizes collecting and leveling up cards to participate in ranking battles. Next up is Mary no Atelier Zarlberg no Renkinjutsushi from Imagineer, a new Atelier game introducing various characters Mary will encounter on her adventure, including adventurers, shopkeepers, and fairies. Wetris GB, also from Imagineer, is described as a great flood panic game and a puzzle title. It's based on the N64 version, but with smaller play areas, and focuses on a duck character. Finally, Guru Guru Characters from Atlas is an RPG highlighted for its unique characters and abundant items. It features item digitization for viewing data and introduces characters like a money-loving man, a liar, a gossiper, and a strange family, along with other unique characters including a genius inventor, a crybaby, and a child idolized by everyone. This page is dedicated to the exciting announcement of the release date for Pocket Monsters Gold and Silver, known internationally as Pokémon Gold and Silver, for the Game Boy Color. The headline celebrates the long-awaited release date finally being decided. It mentions that the release date is set for November 21st, a Sunday, and references the Space World event where people got to experience the game beforehand. The page introduces key characters like Professor Oak, the familiar Pokémon professor, and the player character, alongside the player's mother. Screenshots show in-game scenes including the Pokédex being used to view Pokémon information and overworld exploration with dialogue options. The information box details the game's specifics. Published by Nintendo, priced at 3,800 yen, categorized as an RPG for 1 player, and supporting communication cable functionality and an in-game clock. A large image of the Pokémon Quagsire, referred to as Suzur, is also prominently featured as a mascot or highlight on the page. This page is all about the upcoming Pokemon games, Gold and Silver. It highlights that new adventures begin in new towns and introduces new types of Pokeballs, showing 3 different designs. It explains that in these games you'll encounter new Pokemon types, and you get to choose one of 3 starter Pokemon: Totodile, Chikorita, and Cyndaquil. The page shows screenshots of the game, featuring the town of Wakaba Town, where the adventure begins, and various gameplay scenes, including interacting with characters and menu screens. It mentions the excitement surrounding the release of Pokemon Gold and Silver at Space World, and emphasizes the countdown to the game's release, indicating it's a highly anticipated title. This page highlights fan-made illustrations, showcasing a vibrant community despite the absence of major Nintendo game reveals at the recent Space World event. The author, present among 64 fans, observed a lively atmosphere and potential fan interaction. The featured artwork spans various Nintendo franchises. Notable pieces include depictions of Link and Epona from Ocarina of Time, a Super Smash Bros. Collage, and Yoshi from Mario Golf 64. Other illustrations represent Ogre Battle 64, Pikachu with cherries, and multiple Zelda-themed pieces, including scenes with Link, Epona, and Zelda, or with Akuko. Dragon Quest and Resident Evil 2 also receive fan tributes. The page concludes with a piece potentially depicting adult and child versions of Link. This page showcases fan art submissions for Fire Emblem, focusing on Fire Emblem, Thracia 776. The page displays various illustrations of characters from the game, submitted by fans from different regions of Japan, along with their names and prefectures. The theme for this round of submissions is Fire Emblem Part 2. Several artworks are highlighted: an all-star illustration of Fire Emblem characters, an illustration of the character Nana from Thracia 776, an image described as focusing on the main character Leaf from Thracia 776, a depiction of characters from Fire Emblem which mentions the purchasing of telecards as a service related to the game. Quote, an artwork featuring 2 characters, Assel and Lex, a drawing of the character Shiva from Thracia 776, described as a sword fighter, an illustration of the characters Julius and Uria, central figures in the new Fire Emblem installment, an artwork of a girl character holding a key, mentioning dreams of being adopted in the game Pots, a drawing of a green-haired character, saying it's a dream of becoming a dream character by October. Below, there's a section for illustrations from fans under 10 years old, featuring drawings of Pokemon and characters from Mother 2, Earthbound, like Ness. One drawing is themed around Mother 2 and Smash Bros, and notes that it feels like Smash Bros lately. Another shows Pokemon in a musical performance scenario. This page showcases a diverse collection of fan art inspired by various video games, primarily for the Nintendo 64. Notable pieces include Peach with a Mario plush, art for Shadowgate 64, and Link from Ocarina of Time. Other highlights feature collaborations for Pokemon, Kirby 64 Celebration, and humorous Bomberman artwork. The collection also includes art for Donkey Kong 64, Jet Force Gemini, and Paper Mario. Ocarina of Time receives further attention with multiple illustrations of Zelda, Link, and other characters. Diddy Kong Racing, custom Robo, and original character designs inspired by RPGs also appear. Pokemon Gold and Silver anticipation is reflected, along with artwork referencing Mystical Ninja starring Goemon and Star Wars Episode 1. Racer. The page concludes with illustrations inspired by Gauntlet Legends, Ogre Battle 64, Digimon Adventure, and Mother 2, Earthbound. This page showcases reader submissions in various categories. At the top, we see the Mario Bodyguard Squad section featuring 4 panel comics. One comic shows Mario as a store clerk with Kirby, Ness from Earthbound, Mother 2 in Japan, Link from Zelda, and Captain Falcon as customers. Another comic is about a yellow character complaining about being turned into a rice ball. On the left side is 4 Coma Index, another section of 4 panel comics. These comics are Zelda-themed, with one featuring a Stalfos enemy becoming big, and another showing Link with Cuckoos, chickens, and a Moblin. Below that, in the Cool Shapes Forms section, we see fan illustrations of Captain Falcon, Luigi, and a yellow stick figure character. Finally, on the right is an illustration contest advertisement, inviting readers to submit color illustrations or 4-panel manga. The page also lists names of readers under categories like Officer School Graduation Examination Underway, Sergeant Promotion Candidate, and Regular Soldier Promotion. Regular Member Certificate Award. These seem to be rankings or acknowledgments of reader submissions to the magazine. This page is all about Perfect Striker 2, which was released internationally as International Superstar Soccer 98. It highlights various aspects of the game and gives tips for players. The page mentions International Match Mode, allowing players to enjoy matches with world-class teams. There's also a Big Head mode, activated with a button input at the title screen, which makes players' heads larger for a funny visual effect. Another section explains how to dive intentionally, which can be useful, but also risky as it can result in fouls. Finally, the page details how to create a custom player named Nakata, giving specific parameters and face selection instructions, implying you can create a player resembling Hidetoshi Nakata. This page features gameplay tips and cheat codes for a few games. For Star Wars: Rogue Squadron, it details passwords to unlock features such as a bonus stage using Fujiyama, 16 stage selection with GameEat, Unlimited continues using CNOLIMIT, and a power-up mode using ADVSUBW. It mentions these are entered via the options menu. It also notes that the Death Star stage is unlocked by getting gold medals on all other stages. For Fire Emblem, Thracia 776, it explains an endless level-up tactic on the first map. The strategy involves defeating the boss character Wiseman, while leaving some weaker enemies alive, allowing for repeated leveling. Lastly, for Ogre Battle 64, Person of Lordly Caliber, the page suggests Elm Pedora is a good training area. It mentions that after reading 60 pages of the book, God and Dark Pedora, Elm Pedora will become a training ground where you will face unseen enemies and a strong dragon boss. It recommends using the protagonist unit to overcome these challenges. This page showcases N64 game techniques and tips from player submissions. For Ogre Battle 64, Person of Lordly Caliber, a player shares a money-saving tip for using the dowsing rod efficiently. Before entering a field map, preload data, then use the dowsing rod upon entry. If treasure is found, reset the game and return to the location to save on dowsing rods. In Star Wars: Rogue Squadron, a trick is revealed to find a cheerful R2-D2 during gameplay, accessible in the machine selection screen. For Mario Golf 64, a player explains how to hit a golf ball through trees using a putter. If your ball lands near a tree, switch to a putter and aim towards the tree. Surprisingly, putters can pass through trees where iron clubs cannot. 3 tips are provided for Super Smash Bros. 1 details a technique for Mario, Luigi, Ness, and Pikachu to perform cancel throws in Ness. Another tip highlights the music mode in Sector Z, suggesting using Ness to absorb R-Wing attacks with PSI Magnet. Lastly, a technique describes how to infiltrate Saffron City, Sylph Company, using Kirby or Jigglypuff by jumping onto the Pokemon Gym's roof and then air jumping onto the building to enter, though you will encounter Pokemon inside. At the bottom, there's a call for Dream Technique submissions from players, inviting them to share their game discoveries and techniques for N64 games to the 64Dream editorial department for a chance to win prizes. This catalog previews upcoming N64 games. RPGs include Mother 3, Porky of Pig King, May 2000, Super Mario RPG 2, January 2000, and Robot Pankatsu 64-7 Seas Caramel, December 1999, the latter compatible with Game Boy. Action titles featured are Kirby 64, The Crystal Shards, March 2000, Conker's Quest, TBD, later Conker's Bad Fur Day, Donkey Kong 64, within the year, Jet Force Gemini, and The Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask. Winback, a 3D gun action game developed by Koei, was already released on September 23, 1999. This page previews upcoming and recently released N64 games. Highlights include Custom Robo, a robot battling game with customization options. Bomberman 64. The Second Attack offers 4-player battles and puzzles. Beast Wars Transmetal 64 is a Transformers fighting game. Yakochu 2 is a murder mystery adventure with multiple endings. Biohazard 2, Resident Evil 2, is a port aiming to replicate the PlayStation experience. 64 Wars is a linked simulation war game. Super Robot Wars 64 is a strategy game in a new world. A flight simulator promises realistic combat. Panel de Pon 64, Puzzle League 64,
offers addictive puzzle gameplay. Puyo Puyon Party brings the Dreamcast game to N64 with new features. Nintama Rantaru Challenge Puzzle 64 is a puzzle game based on a popular anime. Finally, Perfect Dark, a 3D shooter utilizing the GoldenEye system, features a single-player campaign and multiplayer modes. This catalog previews several upcoming N64 games. Kemco's OTACHI February 2000 is a 3D action-adventure similar to Doom. Sammy's Viewpoint 2064, November 1999, is an N64 port of the arcade classic, with puzzles and varied stages. Nintendo's Itoi Shigesato no Bastsuri, Number 1 Kitaiban, April 2000, is a detailed base fishing game. Asmic Ace Entertainment's Virtual Pro Wrestling 2, January 2000, promises a realistic wrestling experience. Culture Brain's Ultra Baseball Jitsumeiban 64 has an uncertain release, with development behind. Mario Party 2, mid-December 1999, offers new minigames. Altron's 64 Hanafuda Tenshi no Yakusoku, September 1999, features Hanafuda card games. Culture Brain's Pro Shogi Minarai Hei, October 1999, is a shogi game. Common. Konami's Goemon Mononoke Sugoroku has an undecided release date, a party game in the Goemon series. Nintendo's Excitebike 64, February 2000, is a refined version with 4-player battles. Nintendo's Sliding Puzzle, Radio-Controlled Cars, late October 1999, is a radio-controlled car racing game. Finally, Acclaim Japan's Revolt, November 1999, is the Japanese release of the internationally known Revolt. Several N64 games are in development, including various racing titles. On and Off Racing is a racing game emphasizing on-road/off-road driving. Top Gear Rally 2 and Top Gear Hyperbike introduce improved graphics and motorcycles respectively. Wipeout 64 offers high-speed anti-gravity racing. Spontics. V-Rally Edition 99 is a rally racer with diverse courses. Chorokyu 64-2 promises chaotic races. Dubutsu Banchao is a unique animal simulation. SimCity 64 is a city-building game, utilizing the 64DD. Kiabetsu is a nurturing game. The 64DD software catalog, arriving in December, will provide games and news services. Rev Limit is still awaiting a release date, while Zelda no Densetsu DD details were scarce. This page highlights several upcoming games for the Nintendo 64 and its 64DD add-on. Strategy games include Ultimate War, a realistic war simulation, and Shogi, an online shogi experience. Simulation titles feature Wall Street, a stock trading game. Sports fans can look forward to Japan Pro Golf Tour 64. Table games include Yusuke Ide's Mahjong School. Nintendo is also developing the F-Zero X expansion kit, which will allow players to create courses and machines. The Mario Artist series will offer Paint Studio, Polygon Studio, and Talent Studio, while Soundmaker will provide music creation tools. Finally, Doshin the Giant, a unique giant simulation, and DTDD version, a card game praised by Endosan, are also showcased. This page is a prize giveaway for 64Dream magazine's 3rd anniversary. Up for grabs are various Nintendo and N64 related items, including a gold Nintendo 64 console, custom-painted Game Boy Colors, a Pokémon 3rd anniversary Game Boy Color, and standard Game Boy Colors. You can also win Pokémon game cartridges preloaded with Mew, signed CDs and t-shirts by Shigeru Miyamoto, and signed t-shirts, guidebooks, and Letter from Giant Island by Kazumi Ida. Other prizes include Donkey Kong 64 and Space World t-shirts, Space World stickers and fan sets, Pikachu pin badges, custom robo items, a singing Pokemon Encyclopedia CD, a Takara robot, the Pocket Family GB2 game for Game Boy Color, and HoriPad Mini 64 controllers in various colors. To enter, you need to fill out an application postcard with your desired prize and send it in before October 20, 1999. Winners will be announced in the January issue of 64Dream magazine. A reader survey from 64Dream magazine solicits feedback on the current issue, including article ratings and favorite content choices. Readers are asked about their monthly allowance and spending habits, with options ranging from games to travel. The survey explores interest in upcoming N64 games like Donkey Kong 64 and Perfect Dark,
as well as desired consoles for the year-end. Additionally, the page announces giveaway winners and features an editorial on Kaito's point of view, addressing a reader's letter about childhood memories, difficult experiences, and finding solace in games and mobile phones. This page announces the release of the December issue of the magazine on October 21st, priced at 490 yen. The next issue preview highlights features on the upcoming 64DD service, Donkey Kong 64, and Pokemon Gold and Silver. The editor's postscript mentions playing Bang-I-O at Space World, describing it as incredibly fun. The page also includes a staff list for the magazine and a small comic strip titled Rokuyan Dream Diary, featuring Mario. This page is an advertisement showcasing several Game Boy Color games. Featured titles include Suri Sensei 2, a fishing RPG set on Angler Island, the sequel to Suri Sensei. Dino Breeder 3, Gaia Revival, is also advertised, highlighting its dinosaur breeding and fusion systems. Atsumare Gechuda 3, or Animal Breeder 3, focuses on pet breeding and features maps, minigames, and an animal encyclopedia. For educational gaming, Kenchio BOY, or Kanji BOA, offers kanji learning and testing for various grade levels with minigames. Lastly, Dungeon Savior, a dungeon RPG, is presented, emphasizing its dungeon creation and 100+ monsters to defeat. All games are advertised at a price of 4,800 yen. This page is an advertisement for Star Wars Rogue Squadron on Nintendo 64. It highlights the beautiful dogfights in the game. The ad details the gameplay, mentioning that players take on the role of Luke Skywalker leading Rogue Squadron, engaging in 360-degree dogfights across the Star Wars universe in X-Wings and other vehicles. The page showcases different playable vehicles. The X-Wing, described as balanced in speed, weaponry, and shields. The A-Wing, known for its speed but weaker shields. The Y-Wing, an older but heavily armored ship. And the Snowspeeder, featured from The Empire Strikes Back. It also mentions that the Naboo starfighter from Episode 1 is playable. The advertisement promotes the enhanced graphics with the separately sold high-resolution POC, promising more beautiful visuals on a TV monitor and a realistic, movie-like dogfight experience. It also lists the manufacturer's suggested retail price of 6,800 yen for the game and 2,800 yen for the high-resolution POC,